All right, welcome in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Friday, Max Ball. As we're going to get into all the college football action coming up this weekend. We got some college football news to get you, NFL news as well. Might even touch on a little Major League Baseball today, just quickly because history been made. So we might just touch on that for just a moment. First off, some college football last night. Pretty good game, actually. If you took a peek at NC State and Georgia Tech gets to 7-4, 30-29. They get the win last night. NC State, I would have to say, Greg, one of the most disappointing teams this year in college football. Now 5-6 on the season for the Wolfpack. Just not what anybody expected out of that group.
No, and they've had some injury challenges, but the biggest surprise is how bad their defense is. I mean, that is a proud group and has been for a long time. To see them as bad as they are is pretty alarming. Yeah,
it's not one that I don't think any of us really thought it was going to go that way, but nonetheless, a nice win for Brent Key and Georgia Tech last night as Georgia Tech gets that win. 5-0 at home for the first time since 1999 for Georgia Tech. So pretty good win. Played two quarterbacks last night. Both had some success. Both quarterbacks for Georgia Tech rushed for a touchdown. And I tell you, just pretty impressive what Brent Key's been able to do this year in Atlanta. And I know 7-4 doesn't look super impressive to a lot of people, but with everything that he's working with, GMAC, I think it's a pretty good job.
I think it's a great job. And I think given the fact that his quarterbacks missed a little time, I think Haynes King missed 2 or 3 starts, or at least 2 starts, and maybe a vast majority of a third. Pretty good, I would say. I mean, and you kind of saw it coming. They were a bit of a spoiler team that we had talked about really in the off season. I mean, I called their game against against Georgia last year,
yep.
And I was pretty impressed. They have a lot of team speed, and they're a team that I think they have a clear and established identity. And guess what? A lot of the guys are back. If they're going to shore up some of their past defensive stuff, they'll be in really good shape.
No, they had speed. Obviously, the offensive plan that Buster puts together, fantastic. Buster Faulkner, their offensive coordinator, he does a great job.
Great job.
So just, it's kind of cool to see a team that maybe the expectations weren't really there, that's able to go out there and kind of get some things done. So tonight you'll get at 6 p.m. on ESPN2, 3-7 Temple against 5-5 UTSA. 7 p.m. on Fox, you'll get 1-9 Purdue against 4-6 Michigan State. Not sure that's what they thought they were signing up with that one. 9 p.m. tonight, the only ranked team going tonight. You'll get 8-2 UNLV taking on 6-4 San Jose State. That's 9 o'clock on FS1. So you had a little bit of college football last night. As I mentioned, Georgia Tech gets that win. Not only 5-0 for the first time since 1999 at home, 7 regular season wins for the first time since 2018 for Georgia Tech, winning record in consecutive seasons for the first time since 13 and 14. And they did it with some pretty good offense, got a touchdown late. NC State misses a field goal attempt at the end of the game, and GT goes on to get that win. NFL last night. Don't like the outcome, obviously, but I got to tell you guys, I'm a sucker for a snow game. Like an absolute sucker for a snow game. And I just absolutely love the scene last night in Cleveland. They get the win 24-19 over Pittsburgh. You get a full array of quotes from Jameis Winston again, be it pregame interview, pregame in the huddle, walk around after the game, take your pick, and it's just social media magic wherever you go. Russell Wilson, 21 of 28, 270, a touchdown, no picks. Winston, 18 of 27, 219, no touchdowns and an interception. Pittsburgh outrushed Cleveland as well, but Cleveland finds a way to get the win. That's a tough one for Pittsburgh as they go to 8-3, and after that win against Baltimore last week, had the control of the division, and then you come back and drop this one on a short week. You a big fan of the snow games, GMAC?
Yeah, I think they're fine. The players just look like they just plod along. They just don't look. I mean, they don't look like they're moving fast at all. And I mean, I've been on the field in a snow game before. We've practiced in a snow game. It's hard to move on the field. I mean, it really is. It's hard to get good footing. So it's kind of fun to play in too. Not only is it fun to see, but I mean, you really gotta. I mean, your technique and keeping your balance and all that stuff is really difficult when it's coming down and starting to pile up. So pretty fun to watch last night. It was definitely a scene.
But I mean, that one was one where, I mean, you get the real. That was a real snow last night. I mean, that wasn't like a drift.
No, that wasn't like a fake snow.
No, that was like pounding giant snowflakes. And so here's what I need to know from you guys with that game last night. Do you like or not like Prime putting the field numbers and hash marks and lines in for you guys?
Huh.
See, I bet some people didn't even notice this. And it was driving me crazy because we were at our Friendsgiving with our Sunday school class last night, and they had it on towards the end, and they're like, did they have a heated field? And I was like, TV's putting that in for you.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I was like, wait till you get the full shot, the far away pick. And like, oh, wow. And then when you did replays too, I was like, you see the numbers on the replays? I don't like it. I mean, I want a snow game. I want it to be a snow game. I don't want to be able to see what yard they're on. I don't want us to be able to see the hash. Like I don't.
Part of the fun.
That's what it is. I don't need superimposed Amazon putting in CGI yard markers for me and yard numbers for me. That's not. I mean, if you maybe wanted to do that, like I understand maybe first down starting a drive, and you do like the all 22 shot, and it has the yard markers and everything where they are. And you're like, okay, this is where they are on the field. Now I got a good idea of it. But then let it go after that. I don't need it on every down as they snap the football. I need to know if the people like this or not, because I'm against it.
I know you might be against it, but it's really important to know what part of the field they're on.
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea which side of the 50 they're playing on. But I mean, if you need that,
but you don't know for certain. But do you know if they're at the 40 or do you know if they're at the 20?
You know what I do know is where the orange pylon is when they snap the football and how far they need to go for a first down. That's all I need to know.
Oh, so you find the pylon based. Oh, you're talking about like the stick, the when they bring the sticks out to measure them up.
I actually don't need them to bring it out. I can actually look at the sideline and see. Okay, that's where the original starting point was on 1st and 10, and now this is where they have the ball, and that's where the ending point is for a first down. So we're good. Like, why would I need to know they're on the 42 if it's 2nd and 8? I mean, okay.
Because that to me, I like when I'm watching a game, I'm playing the game.
Oh, I gotta know my situational play calling.
Exactly.
I'm gonna turn my sheet over for my left hash high red zone call.
If it's 2nd and 2 from the 42 or for the 48, I know it's probably. If it's 2nd and 8, right? You said 2nd and 8 from the 42.
You take your pick. Take your pick. 2nd and 3, 2nd and 18, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 4. Whatever makes it best for you as a viewer.
All right. Well, that doesn't really matter. I just know that if we're on the plus 42. I know what the conditions being what they are. It's probably 4 down territory. So I know I probably have 3 downs to get it if it's 2nd and whatever. So if it's 2nd and 2, I'm probably taking a shot. If it's 2nd and 8, probably still going to be pretty aggressive with my 2nd down call because I know that I have 3 downs to get it. So worst case, I make it 3rd and 8. Then I make it 4th and 3 with a 3rd down run. So yeah, I mean it changes the game for me just because you meat-headed offensive linemen are sitting there like, oh, well, we'll just maul whoever. I don't care about no down and distance. I don't care about what part of the field. I care about whipping this guy's behind right in front of me every single time the ball is snapped.
Just run it.
That's just run. Follow me. Follow me, Mr. Tailback.
Just run.
You know where to find me.
That's all we need. Ground and pound.
See, like, I understand what you're saying by being, hairy, hard behind, but I do personally like to know like what part of the field they're on. So while I didn't think about it in the moment, I am glad that Amazon did that. So thank you, Amazon, for everything that you provide our family and for taking 25% of my take-home pay pretty much every month.
Text your guy Sam Schwartzstein. I'm sure he came up with that idea.
Probably did.
John, yes or no to CGI yard markers during a snow game on TV?
This is not going to break the tie, but I guess I'm in the middle because I didn't need it all the time, but I was glad that it was there occasionally. Like it being there constantly too much, I was like, all right, I don't need it, especially because you could tell if I knew it was 100% real or fake, it'd be fine. But it would, when a guy would get tackled, the image would be over the guy. I'm like, all right, like this is weird. This looks like a video game glitch, and I don't need all of that. But as cool as the visual is with the blustery snow and all that, and yeah, okay, I can see the first down marker kind of, but also it looks like they're just playing in an open field, and I need to know a little bit more.
Okay.
So
like I said, occasionally great. Give me an idea where we are, but I don't need it on every down, every drive, every moment.
Yeah.
It's okay. But
Why
Greg,
do you hate
likes
running water?
Greg likes CGI
also?
football. No, I
You
just
hate
don't need,
running water.
I don't need computer generated
Captain
football.
Tecmo Ball. It says Captain
go.
Tecmo Ball over here.
Yep.
He's sitting here saying he doesn't like CGI, whatever. Do you also like
I'm gonna hit Cat
running
Bosa on
power?
a crossing route. Yeah,
like
I'm a fan of power. They had lights at the game, so I was a fan of that.
There you go. Well, that's an improvement. Are you a fan of?
I bet that field was heated too. I bet they had heated benches. I'm not complaining about that.
Are you a fan of face masks also?
Not the one like Jameis Winston wears in that new helmet that those guys have. I can't
a bit
stand
much,
that one.
yeah.
TJ Watt has the same one, doesn't he?
I don't like it. Sorry, it's like it goes,
Miles Garrett has that one. Miles Garrett.
It feels like the old.
Or maybe TJ Watt does too.
Feels like the old. Like remember the ones they had when World League was around? There was like those plastic ones with like they're big and wide. Like, it reminds me of those. It's not a great.
No,
look.
it reminds me. You know what it looks like? It looks like Madden 64. If you look at Madden 64, when the Patriots aren't even known as the New England Patriots, they're known as Foxborough. That's what the face mask looks like. Look at the Madden 64 characters.
Don't need
That's
it.
exactly what it looks like.
Either way, Steelers go down last night to the Browns. We got college football coming up tonight. College football this weekend to get to. Going to go max ball for the entirety of the show today. But here's what we've got for you coming up. Stanford Steve going to be with us at 7:30. He'll give us his picks for the weekend. Trent Dilfer going to make up his visit from Tuesday. He'll be with us today at 8 a.m. And then Rhett Lewis talks Indiana, Ohio State. Does he think this is the biggest game in Indiana history? He'll join us at 9 a.m. today. And that'll be a good conversation there with him. Before we go to our first break, I'll tell you about your CBD store. Largest brick and mortar CBD retailer on planet Earth right here in Birmingham. And they can help you with a lot of different products. If you need to wake up and get a better start to your day, they have products for that. Better focus throughout the course of your day, they can help you there. The Trim by SunMed is in stock now for some weight loss. If you need to help with the appetite here moving into the holidays, they've got that on the shelves. In your CBD store, first company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp on their products. If you have arthritis, anxiety for you or your pet, there are products that can help you with that at your CBD store. Check out one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trussville just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. All right, we'll get to that break, come back, and begin breaking down some of the games over the weekend. Alabama, Oklahoma, we'll start with that one right after this, next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 800-239-9569. Any college football you want to discuss here before the weekend? Thoughts about games, questions about games, games you're excited about, games that may have a certain appeal in different ways. You can get in there. You can always get in on the Twitter feed as well, at Mac and Cube. Got a couple of tweets coming in there. Charlie Snow tweets into the show. No CGI numbers on Snow game. Take it from the Snowman.
Whew.
You know what? I'm giving props for that one.
Not bad.
Louis DeArmond tweets in, give me 1985 blizzard in Chicago with Mike Singletary, and I have no idea what's going on. Just give me snow and carnage. I'm with you. Sign me up for that. Greg, give him heated booth, leather seats with massagers, foot warmers, mittens, scarf, and a fake fireplace in front of him that blasts heat out.
It's a wonderful thing to live in a time in which we have technological advancement to make life more comfortable inside.
When does your Tesla robot arrive at your home to do your chores for you?
No, that's what kids are for. Unfortunately, ours just aren't quite old enough yet. But I do know this. I do know that if you want to regress into a caveman philosophy, you're more than welcome to. I, for one, like having heating and air at my house, and I like having heating and air in my booth, and I also like having Polar Bear Services to take care of it if I have a problem. HVAC pros, when they are taking great care of you, they can do so many different things for you too, by the way. Whether it's the HVAC system that they specialize in, and we know the cold weather's here now, is not going away. We saw the snow last night in the football game, and we've continued to see things getting cooler and cooler around the area, which is kind of nice, kind of welcome, that's for sure. Make sure your system's ready to roll for the winter months ahead. Serving all over Alabama, they can also do your electrical, they can also do your plumbing. Remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
All right, so you felt like you needed to be a polar bear last night when you're watching that football game. But again, actually, hey, how about today? It was in the 30s on the way up here today.
It is kind of nice.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife was complaining yesterday. I was like, hold on, we've been waiting for this for months now. It's been hot, actually. And now all of a sudden, we finally got a little bit of cool weather.
Hoodie is still on inside of the building.
I mean, we'll take it.
That's nice.
I've been waiting for this. It actually feels like Thanksgiving's around the corner now. So I'm 100% okay with it. All right, let's get to some college football coming up this weekend. Stanford Steve in 10 minutes. Alabama, Oklahoma, Greg. This Oklahoma defense is a problem for just about anybody. They have been exceptional this year. They have scored tackles for loss. They've turned the ball over. They can get to the quarterback. They have different guys up front that can do different things for them. They are extremely aggressive. Zach Alley, their defensive coordinator, in one of our meetings with them, when I asked him about movement on plays, he said, I don't feel like we should ever give somebody sitting targets, so we might move on every play of the game. That's what you're dealing with this defense. You have a safety who can come down, attack the football, make plays close to the line of scrimmage, two actually. It can be an issue in a lot of different ways. What do you think Alabama has to do to just sort of offset what that Oklahoma defense is in this game this weekend?
Well, I think they just got to – I think you're going to get a lot of zone blocking at first. And then I think you get into the gap trap. You like gap trap or zone?
Against these guys, zone. I want to be able to sort it out because you're going to get a run stunt seemingly on every play. So, let's sort it out. Let's figure out what's going on, and then if we need to try to run a counter or a power every now and then later, at least we know what we're dealing with.
Yeah. See, I'm not 100% in the camp where you go zone against movement like this. I kind of am like a gap trap guy.
I think when you're dealing with a group like this, I do understand where you're coming from because a lot of times if you go inside, outside zone, that looper, he ends up showing up and you're supposed to be taken care of. But also you catch him on the other side of that and then we're out the gate. Like we got free run to the linebacker, maybe the safety, and should be a big gainer. It feels like more can go wrong when you're going to try counter power. You go to block back, that guy's not there. All of a sudden you waste your center because he's blocking back. He's not going to be able to climb to where that looper's coming from. It's a lot of the stuff, actually, when you go look at it, it's a lot of what South Carolina's done this year. Like the picks on the center and the inside stunts, like they've been really strategic with how they do it. That's kind of where it can be problematic. And then the other part of it, Greg, is these edge defenders, Ethan Downs and those guys for Oklahoma. They can attack upfield in a hurry. They can attack flat in a hurry. And they're not going to be the most stout edge defenders that you're going to deal with, but they're not shy about playing the run. I don't think you're always going to get clean kickouts, or you're not always going to be able to cleanly wrap those guys over on the edge because of how they play it and the kind of speed and athleticism they have. So that's why I'm a bigger fan of the zone stuff there.
See, I don't think there's a right answer there. I think it's a matter of preference. I just feel like if I can gap trap them, I can calm them down. I think zone, they sit there and think, all right, and I'm always cautious of one of my offensive linemen chasing, and then all of a sudden the reason for our zone is no more. And they hang on a double team too long. They try to wash and allows run throughs, because if they're creating chaos up front, those linebackers are just looking for openings. And I just don't like the possibility of the run throughs. I do know that you can possibly waste a guy. I do get that, but the possibility too of there being two unaccounted for gaps in a man scheme, especially with some pullers and just buying an extra body sometimes is helpful. I can block 2 with 1 a lot on gap trap stuff. And those that are curious here, like what gap trap is. Gap trap, it's really 2 variations of, I mean, there's a million different variations of blocking, but gap trap is basically where guys are blocking men. So if Cole's playing center and I'm playing left guard, Cole's basically, we're playing man against the defense. Like, all right, hey, I'm going to help you here on this nose, but my job is to get to that linebacker. And then we're going to have a pulling guard around the other side. It's basically man blocking versus zone blocking. Like, instead zone, it's like, all right, we're going to work together in tandem. We're going to block this space, and anybody that gets in this space, we're going to handle. So that's what we're talking about here with gap trap versus zone. And I've always felt like a good, clean, old-fashioned power or duo will get them out of their gap trap stuff. I'm a believer in it. Now, if I got to put extra wings out there and I got to go power plus because I have an extra tight end, that's fine. I'm great with that. I don't want any short sides. So if there is, I'd like having some type of eye candy to the weak side, whether it's the quarterback on a hard boot action or always given the threat of a guy going into the flat just to bluff that weak side defensive end. I can live with that, but I want to hit it right between the A gaps where I got plenty of blocking surface against the gap trap stuff. I would run power between the right guard and the right center, or in the center, or the left guard in the center 20 times in this game. I don't care if it's quarterback power. I don't care if it's 1 back power. I don't care if it's 2 back power. I don't care if it's power read off a sweep. I would run power 20 times in this game if I were Alabama. And if Oklahoma wants to move, guess what? 3 out of those 20, I'm going to hit for a big gain. And a big gain might be 20 and it might be 80. But I'm going to hit 3 out of those 20 at least, maybe more. So that's my philosophy going into it, and I would stick to it. I'd be super patient, and I wouldn't throw it unless I felt like I had to. If I didn't get a gain on first down, I'd throw it on second to make it third and manageable. That'd be about it, and any drive that ends in a kick in this game is a win, 100%.
I'm with you, and I understand the left side. I mean, I don't think anybody that listens to this show on a regular basis doesn't know how I feel about Tyler Booker, and I'm always a fan of running behind him. It's just Jaden Jackson inside has been great. Dominic Williams been really good. Dejon Terry has been pretty good. Grayson Halton's coming on here late. Ashton Sanders is giving them good reps. They have 4 or 5 guys inside that can be disruptors, penetrators, can cause problems.
Big time.
I actually think, and we've seen Alabama do this a little bit this year. I think we first saw it in the Wisconsin game. Is a little bit of a kind of a pin and pull outside scheme, like almost like a toss crack, and it can be off tackle. It could actually be like a toss to the perimeter. I actually think Alabama can have a lot of success there because of Robbie Utes, CJ Dupree, some of those bonus bigs that you can get out wide. Let them kind of block back there on the perimeter and try to hit that thing right off tackle. That's where, because then you have where Milroe can keep a couple of those if you want him to, because this defense flows so hard. I still think misdirection, like if all the stuff that you just talked about, blocking back, pin and pull, and that kind of stuff, you got to have counter in there because this defense flows as well or harder than any other defense I've watched this year. You have to take advantage of that. You've got to have some misdirection. So don't be surprised if Ryan Williams gets an end around or two. I would expect that to take place. Milroe keep one or two. God, Greg, I forgot to tell you this. My head was just burning. Man, I shouldn't say it this week. I'll save that for next week. I think I already said it, though. We were talking about LSU's RPO game with Coach Sloan, and he was like, yeah, the stretch play is great for us. He's like, the only problem is it doesn't marry up to our RPO game. And I was like, God, man, boot off that. Like, why do we hate bootlegs now? Like, what's wrong with that? Boot off that thing. Like, just you play Arkansas for the boot every year, right? Like,
it's right there.
Fake it and just boot it, man. Like, I know your quarterback doesn't like to run, but
I think bootlegs are the most underutilized thing in football right now.
And the only reason I think they don't want to do it is because of the 1 out of 50 where a defensive end or an edge defender misplays it and he gets destroyed, or a corner crash from the other side. And I'm like, that's 1 in 5 games. Like, you've got to take that chance.
Guess what? In college football, it's a possibility too, where the guy has no idea where the football is, and if your quarterback's halfway decent at a run fake, he's probably going to chase the back. You know how many times I've seen an unblocked guy? I mean, on naked. Naked, by the way, means that the quarterback has the defensive end. On a naked, where the defensive end runs flat downhill, like I was pretty decent on the run fake. So I would get guys all the time chasing the back, and I'd be booting out the backside, no problem. I'll tell you what it is. The routes are not crazy advanceable. Like you can throw comebacks and stuff to the outside, which are uncoverable. You get them at 20 yards, by the time that DB can't sit there forever. Like I'd run bootleg 4 times a game. I'd run stretch zone 10 times a game. I would run, variations of stretch zone, weak side, outside, to a YY look. And then I would marry it up with power duo 10 times a game. I would be the most simple offensive coordinator ever, and I swear I think it would work. Maybe it wouldn't, but I think guys get way too cute nowadays with some of their stuff. Oh, we got to have our RPO stuff. That's who we are. Great. How about running the ball more than 20% of your offense?
Well, and
that'd be nice too.
That's the good news for Alabama fans. Is this football team is a 52% run team this year. That's 33rd in all of college football. So they have leaned on that aspect of their game, and I think it's going to be important against Oklahoma. Like Greg said, you don't want to put it in the air too much against this team because they have ball hawks at linebacker, on the edge, at safety. They can get you in a lot of different ways. However, because of that flow that we talked about and being a little bit of a lighter defense just in general, you can get them in the run game. And I think Alabama can have that success. And then on the road, you want to try and take the crowd out. It is odd, though, that Oklahoma leads the series all-time 3-2-1. Alabama looks to even that up against Oklahoma this weekend. We got a lot more time we're going to spend on it. We will get to Stanford Steve in just a moment. But first I want to tell you about our friends at Train. Flu season ramping up. Make your home healthier with Train Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus, 100 times more effective than standard air filters, 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at train.com. Stanford Steve of College Game Day next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:35 a.m. Friday, November 22nd, Jocks 94.5. Watch live on YouTube, search Jocks 945, and you can always check us out there. Greg, he joins us each and every week thanks to our friends at Atlas Senior Living at Stanford Steve.
Yeah, thanks to our friends at Atlas Senior Living. You can go and join the Atlas Pick'em Pool, atlasseniorliving.com. And they are having a really fun little thing going on this fall. You can go and check it out right now. Picking winners. If you can pick some winners, you'll be in great shape. Want to give a shout out to the winners from last week. Joe Putney at the Madison at the Range in Alabama, in Madison, Alabama, and the public pool winner, Clayton Bromberg, little man Bromberg. To sign up for the Atlas Pick'em Pools, go to atlasseniorliving.com and click on the football banner. Know that Atlas Senior Living, they're going the extra mile to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of and get the stimulation and everything that they could possibly want here in the entire Southeast is accounted for as well. atlasseniorliving.com, the very best they bring. It's our friend, Stanford Steve, every week. Steve, what's going on, buddy? A lot of plays this week. A lot of plays. A lot of value to be had. Find a winner for me, huh?
Yeah, great board to look at this week, guys.
Oh, gosh, what's in your voice?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, it must be you.
You catch the McElroy? Oh, boy. Yeah. See, I get sick on Tuesdays, not on Fridays. That's the play. That's a rookie move.
You were a champion this week. No, I fired up. There's a lot of double-digit dogs that I think could win. I put Vanderbilt in that category. See how it's 9. The one that's really sticking out to me that I think can happen, and no one wants to talk about around here because I'm in Columbus, is Northwestern in Michigan. Like watching the Northwestern Ohio State tape, I thought they played pretty well, and then they just got hit by that Ohio State swoon. But I got my eyes on Northwestern. I think it's definitely possible, knowing Michigan's not elite offensively.
Hey, quickly before we go any further, Steelers Browns last night on Amazon. Yes or no to the CGI numbers and hash marks that are put in via television for the viewers to watch during the snow?
I thought it was very helpful being here in Ohio. I've never seen a Browns game, especially against the Steelers. Grown women barking in my face during the game. Never had that one happen. So that combined with the CGI, I'm in for. It helped. It was an incredible experience.
So you've never been to a Georgia game either?
I was there last week. That did not happen. What happened last night?
Oh, you just never been a visiting player at a Georgia game, I guess, and not had grown women barking in your face. Because I can 100% confirm for you that has happened inside that stadium. There's absolutely no doubt about it. A lot of people think this A&M Auburn number is questionably low on the A&M side. I realize it's a weird place to play, tough place to play, but Steve, when I feel like there's this false confidence in Auburn going into this game, and when I ask people why they believe it, they say, "Oh, just going to get it done. We're just going to." No, they're going to do it. They're going to get this. They're not going to turn it over. They're just going to run the ball. I'm like, well, these things haven't just been happening. So, where are you on this Auburn A&M number?
It's all on A&M for me, guys. I want to see this offense without Le'Veon Moss. We haven't seen it all year. I think he's been one of the most valuable guys in the whole conference. And now A&M goes on the road. And when you break it down, Auburn could play against the run. A&M's not going to beat you defense with the pass game. So if Auburn could get A&M in predictable situations and please give the ball to 27, I think they're going to be all right. The line smells worse than anything. So I look at Auburn as very, very capable. It's a huge spot for Elko to really learn about his team. If they go in and win handily, we got a monster matchup Saturday night after Thanksgiving against Texas in College Station. But I just don't think A&M's there yet. I really don't. Only night game at home for Auburn all year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, no one's ever won at night there.
Well, they were like one of the non-cons early in the year was, but I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying is applicable, I think, yeah.
No one has ever won at night there. So it's good to know that it's impossible because it's all about Jordan Hare. It's all about the voodoo Those are the breakdowns you get here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Just the
tell him
voodoo
that's
at night.
Tell him that's the coach he sits
Harris.
on set with about it, because that's the conversation I had with him last year after the SEC championship game. So ask him about it.
Yep.
Is it a real thing or no?
He believes it is.
I was being facetious. I personally like to break down the XO. Talking about the voodoo is above my paid grade. I'll save that for the tarot card readers.
That's your head coach talking
shows.
about that. Not us.
Yeah,
that's your head coach
that's
saying
fine.
that.
Well, he doesn't believe in ball then. He's not an XO guy. I didn't know that. That must be news to me.
This confirms it.
This confirms it. Coach Saban, huge witchcraft guy. Another one that I think is really interesting and super dangerous this weekend is Penn State at Minnesota. I am not a huge believer in Penn State. I think there's just something missing. I think Minnesota's defense is good enough to make life difficult. And while Penn State knows this is the last big hurdle that they have before they welcome Maryland to their place next weekend, I think there is a little bit of a tricky start to this one if Minnesota can score. Can they? The line's 10.5.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Fleck has been really good as an underdog. And Penn State, when they got Ohio State, the running backs weren't healthy. That's what's curious to me about Penn State is having those two running backs and not being able to rely on them in the run game when they needed to. Now, they haven't had the toughest schedule. That's been pointed out plenty of times. But their defense has to show up on the road because I'm with you, Greg. I think the offense is going to struggle early on. Aller, being able to move the sticks in an environment like that and knowing that it's their final hurdle and they could have the easiest path to a playoff spot ever, I think Minnesota is definitely capable of pulling that upset.
Is Tyler Warren like your equivalent of Trey Smith or Quentin Nelson for me watching college football?
It's really cool, man. Watching him, where they put him. The thing that keeps sticking out is he never touched the ball against Ohio State on that goal line stand. That's where I just don't understand what happened. But what Cubelic done with him and be able to, 17 catches in one game for a tight end. Greg would never even think to throw to the ball to the tight end 17 times in a game.
Not I like yak and athletes.
Well, they're always open, so it is that security blanket. But yeah, Tyler Warren should be invited to New York, but he's not going to be.
Should be. I agree with you. I think pound for pound, he's one of the best players in the sport. But like I've said before, that would require Heisman voters to actually watch games.
Correct.
But that is above the pay grade of many of those people that are in the Heisman contingent. Another one that I think is really interesting this weekend is BYU Arizona State. The line started at 3, went up to 3.5, now back to 3. I don't really know how to play it. It's a stay away for me. If you told me gun to head, how would you play it? I'd take the under. That's at 48.5. I just don't trust either of these teams' offenses against the defense that they're likely going to see. Do you have a lean?
I don't, Greg. I just look at BYU in this spot, knowing to be able to get by wins all season and then, get caught last week against Kansas and now have to go on the road. That's a crazy place, man. Plenty of people have lost there. I never did. I'm just saying.
Wow.
But when you look at Arizona, State, when they got it cranked, those fans show up. It's the best surface there is in the sport. Never felt faster in my life. But to me, it's about Retzlaff on the road. How do they react off a loss? Can they rely on their defense, which has been so turnover dependent? Scatterboo has been awesome. I do lean Arizona State. I just like the mojo they have. But them now favorite, it's kind of a different deal. And knowing what that both teams, this is the key. If they win out, they're going to the Big 12 title game. So I would lean Arizona State. That's the one I have.
I feel like everybody's starting to kind of hop on Kansas as their upset pick for the weekend. Colorado, 3-point favorite on the road. We know Kansas getting healthy. Is that about where it needs to be, or is that easy money?
That's a tough one because the people that have been riding Kansas are going to take them again. It's been the same situation the last 3 weeks with them catching points. They didn't really play that well last week and won at BYU. That's what's interesting to me. I feel like Colorado's offense is more dependable. But again, with knowing what's at stake, how does Colorado respond? They've had these games, fortunately at home. That place is going to be crazy. Arrowhead, I mean, I know it's an NFL stadium, but Kansas has belief. Their quarterback is as good as there is in the league. I just think whatever quarterback plays better is going to win that game. I think it's got written all over it, but I'm sticking with Colorado. They've been awesome. No one's been better against the spread, and I believe that offense will travel and win.
All right, all these playoff contenders that are on the road this weekend, someone's going down. We've already kind of hit on A&M. We already mentioned Penn State. SMU, an underrated Virginia team who got blasted last week, but it's because they couldn't field a kickoff. I mean, it's like the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen. Indiana, Ohio State, that's kind of the most obvious one, but I'd probably stay away from that one. Ole Miss on the road at Florida. There's a bunch of dangerous spots where it is double digits, but it's not a real comfortable situation to lay them. Colorado, like I just referenced. Which is the one that's going down? Which is the one that's going to lose? Or do you think there's more than one?
I think there's a couple. The two most interesting are Indiana, obviously being a double-digit dog, and knowing what Ohio State is going to look like. When you look at Ohio State and what they've been able to shuffle, I go back to the Oregon game, guys. When they lost Simmons at left tackle, they still scored 31 points in that game on the fly in a crazy environment. You flip it to Penn State, being at that game also. When they needed it most, their offensive line got it done with that drive where they never gave it back to Penn State. So Ohio State, I think all the pressure's on them, obviously. People want to know what the score is going to be. Indiana hasn't played a game like this. I mean, I think the toughest environment is at East Lansing, where they fell behind 10-0 and won 47-10. But the one that interests me the most in watching everything is Florida Ole Miss, because I want to see what Ole Miss's O-line looks like on the road in that environment. Florida did a really good job against LSU's offensive line. I know LSU's offensive line is probably the most underachieving group in the sport this year. But if the Swamp can get ready for noon, I think Florida could do some things defensively to really make Ole Miss struggle. And knowing the way that the SEC teams are ranked, the committee would make things a lot easier for them. So I look at Ole Miss as being the number one team on the spot for an upset.
All right, quickly, Steve, got to let you run, but you brought up Northwestern and Michigan earlier, but you did not bring up the most interesting part of that game, and that is the total of 36.5. Where are we on that?
Under. I just don't think. I mean, if you score 2 touchdowns, you're going to win that game. I just don't know if either team is capable.
Okay. There we go. Steve, always appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
All right, boys. Have a great one.
All right. Get that voice right. GMAC, Steve, brought to us each and every week by Atlas Senior Living.
Yeah, thanks to our friends at Atlas Senior Living. Go check them out right now. Locations throughout the Southeast, guaranteed to make sure that your loved ones are taken care of like their family. Love those guys at Atlas Senior Living, good friends of mine, and I know they'll take great care of you. Go and join their pick and pool. You can win $200 Amazon gift card. Shout out once again to little man Bromberg. He is just lapping the field there at the end of the year. He's got a 26-game lead for the season long. So shout out there to Clayton, but also go and check him out. $200 Amazon gift card on the line every single week. I'm going to join right now and go pick some winners.
All right, when we come back, more Max Ball here on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Quickly before we get to our top three, GMAC, right here at November 22nd, Friday, 7:53 a.m. Tell our listeners about B-Dry.
B-Dry has been serving Alabama and customers here throughout the Birmingham area. It's awesome to know that you're going to get the largest waterproofing company in the country right here in our own backyard, the company that has a solution that stops all 5 ways water can enter your foundation. And they're going to give you 12 months interest-free and no payments. That's right, no payments for 12 months. So you get the job finished before the first of the year and have plenty of cash on hand for holiday fun. Call B-Dry now to get the job done right with the strongest warranty and the best price. Call 942-1976 or visit bdryalabama.com.
All right, so let's get to our top three. We do it each and every day, but we know what today is.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
tuned.
Top 3 teams on upset alert this weekend.
Notre Dame, 14-point favorite against Army. I think that we talked about limiting possessions. If the offense gets off to a bad start, if you only get 8 or 9 opportunities to put points on the board, I think Army is a threat to Notre Dame. Vanderbilt, plus 7.5 going to LSU. I just think this is the first big test of what is this team mentally and emotionally when you're talking about LSU, solely based on that. Now that you're not in contention for the SEC championship game, and then Wisconsin plus 1.5 going to Nebraska. Wisconsin's won 10 straight against Nebraska, by the way. So just trying to let you know where that one's been. Nebraska's lost 4 straight. Last 3 by 1 possession.
Oh, boy.
So they're obviously good at losing close games. I'll also give them credit for that.
Gregory?
That's all that matters is losing close.
Yeah, because there wins next year. So
Yes, that's the way it always works. All right, upset alert. Man, it's a tough week outside of the obvious candidates. I'm trying to give you something else. Last week, I think I was 3 for 3 on my upset picks. So I'll try to follow that lead again. As far as just outright bona fides, I probably lean towards Vanderbilt. Cole's on that game. He'd have a better feel for it. Not that he would make a pick, but he'd have a better feel for the game and how it might be played. I just don't trust at all. I do not trust whatsoever when I look at this Vanderbilt team and I know that they're going to run the football, I don't trust LSU to stop them at all. I look at, Auburn's obvious, got that one. I think Troy could be problematic for Louisiana this weekend. Obviously, Kansas, that one goes without saying. Louisiana Monroe's an underdog at Arkansas State. That one didn't make sense. I don't hate Virginia against SMU, so I know I gave you a bunch right there, but those are some of the ones I'm looking at. Oh, and Maryland, plus 6 against Iowa. I like that one as well.
One to keep your eye on, Texas Tech, 3.5-point favorite at OK State. OK State's not necessarily a great team right now, but Mike Gundy is 14-4 against the Red Raiders. So they're telling you that these teams are relatively close. I expect Texas Tech to win, but they should be on upset alert.
I got you. I'm with Vanderbilt over LSU. I also agree with you 100% on Troy and Louisiana. I think they can make that one interesting. And I guess I'll throw Auburn in there and Texas A&M.
We'll talk more about that game, a lot of those games coming up next with Coach Dilfer. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, Friday, November 22nd, right here at 8 a.m. Hour number 2 underway on Jocks 94.5.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year. 7 times they've won the national championship, and you'll understand why when you take the short drive up to Coleman. You see the options that they have on the lot, like a brand new Hummer. This thing's beautiful. One of the nicest vehicles on the road. They can take $20,000 off. Some places can't even get these things. They're not only getting them, but they're getting multiple, and they're giving them to you at the best possible price, $20,000 off plus 0% for 60 months. If you go take the short drive up to Coleman, you'll understand why. 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's why you shop at Bill Smith. That's why I'm a repeat customer. I know you will be too, because of the service and the experience that you'll have. Take the short drive up to Coleman. You also can shop online, have delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, we welcome him in every week, not necessarily on Fridays, but making it up this week. It is Trent Dilford, UAB head football coach, joining us now on the Buyers Right Hotline. Coach, how are we feeling?
Well, I'm surviving. Thanks for pushing back a couple days.
Well, listen, we appreciate you after going through what you went through to be able to hop on and join us. You get a Rice football team this weekend that obviously is going to have a little bit of a new staff. They'll shift some things around, move some things around. Does that change your preparation at all?
Not really. They've stayed pretty consistent to what they were even after Coach Bloomberg's left. They're a highly physical football team. You know, I was talking to Coach Silverfield at Memphis before the game on Saturday, and he said, hey, just be aware, Rice is the most physical team we've played all year. We did not expect it. We went in expecting one thing and got something else. So everybody that's played them has echoed the same thing. They're highly physical. They take the fight to you. They, like us, have found ways to lose games, but that does not reflect the type of talent and type of effort that they play with. They play with a great deal of effort and are very talented and want to make it a fist fight.
How would you assess just kind of the home stretch and the messaging to the team? I mean, trying to kind of put a bow on the season in a positive way, ending it in a positive way with plenty of opportunity sitting in front of you. So what is the messaging to the team at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty consistent. We've always talked about approaching each week, each day going 1-0, kind of that 1-0 mentality and staying focused on the process. Now, it hasn't worked, obviously, but it doesn't change your messaging. You want these kids to learn at a young age that they want to be process-driven, that circumstances can't dictate their energy, their investment in life. You know, life is going to kick you in the groin sometimes, like the season has, and you can't allow your circumstances to dictate what you put into life and what you put into football. So we've expected a high standard of preparation regardless of our record. We've tried to encourage the players on and off the football field to finish strong. It's a senior day for us, which is an important day. We have 21 seniors that will walk, all meant something very valuable to this program. So there's always something to play for, in my opinion, in football. We've talked about their pride. We've talked about creating value for themselves on tape. You can never hide from the tape, as you guys know. So whatever they put out there on Saturday lives forever on that tape, and I think that should be motivation enough to play your best football.
Why is it important for you to recognize these seniors and continue that tradition? There are certain schools that are shutting this down altogether. Why is it important for you to make sure that those guys get the recognition they deserve?
Well, I think you have two types of seniors. You have your Terrell McDonald's, guys that have been here 6 years, poured in as much as any person ever to this program, that have, endured a lot, have been through a lot of change, have given a lot to the institution, sacrificed a lot. And then you have seniors that were kind of one and done, so to speak. They came in here out of the portal, but they still meant something to the program. They still invested a lot. They still, we have accomplished a lot off the football field, the highest GPA in the history of UAB football, 3,000 hours of community service from our football team, completely fixed the APR issues we had here. So those seniors had something to do with that too, and there's something to be proud of, even though the record doesn't reflect, our record doesn't reflect their investment in the institution. They've still had an impact, and we want to honor them and make sure that they feel valued even though the season has been disappointing.
Knowing that the senior day is sometimes emotional for some of the guys, and some of them, I mean, last time they'll put a lot of guys from the area. Last time they'll put pads on in their home state, potentially in front of their friends, family, what have you. Do you have to calm them down some? Like, do you approach it a little differently, knowing the emotions might be, at an all-time high?
Yeah, I think pregame there definitely has to be some reset, kind of some perspective. Yeah, I think one of the issues we've had as a football team is we've been too much of an emotional roller coaster. So I think there is a danger there that guys go out and they lose their minds a little bit, thinking that being highly emotional is the way to play this game. I think you need emotion, but you don't ever want emotion to dictate decision making, and we've had too much of that this year, and we don't want them going out and mistaking high emotion for good decision making. So that'll definitely be a point of emphasis before the game.
What have you been able to add to your offense? I know since Kitten has come in, it feels like the passing game has taken even more of a step up. But what has that allowed you to do a little bit more of the last couple of weeks since that success is sustained?
Well, I think that the offense is morphing into Jalen's. More movement, more vertical passing. We've done some good things. Turnovers, as was the case really our tenure here. Unfortunately, turnovers is what stops this offense. Has been the thing that's bitten us, but we've been more explosive. None of the good things matter though when you're turning the ball over, and that's been the message is, the understanding the value of the football, understanding, you can't, it's nearly impossible to win in college football when you're careless with the football. So we got to do a better job with that, but there have been aspects of the offense that have grown under Jalen, and we look for the last 2 weeks for those things to continue to grow.
And how would you kind of assess the convergence of chaos here starting in 2 weeks? When you finish up the season, all of a sudden you have guys that are coming to you talking about getting in the portal. Then you have guys that are getting in the portal that you might be reaching out to. Like, what's going on, and how do you prepare yourself for 2 weeks from now?
Wow, thanks for ending with such an easy question, Greg.
Well, I know it's not. I mean, I know that you're planning for it, just knowing you and your personality. I just don't know how you plan for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that. I think it's a day by day. I know one thing that we're doing, or I'm doing relentlessly this week, especially because I've been so down and out after the surgery. I've just mainly been relegated to my desk. Just really making sure I'm doing good evals of players, making sure we really understand our roster, that I really understand our roster, that it's an objective point of view, not subjective, because emotion, anytime you're disappointed because of a season, you're going to be more irrational. So I want to make objective decisions. Meeting with department heads in our building, getting their input. Looking at the state of climate, the climate of college football. There's just going to be this gap between this December portal and then the new house settlement in April and the April portal. And what does that mean for NIL? And what does that mean for rev share? The 105 roster limit, what does that actually mean for us at this level? So there's a lot of questions that you're trying to get answered. And at the same time have a very clear perspective of why we had a disappointing season and not overreact to some things and maybe not underreact to other things. I think as I get older, sometimes I may underreact to stuff, and I want to make sure I'm giving proper weight and value to the things that have caused us to lose instead of win. There's a lot of self-reflection that goes in this. Obviously, I've not done my job as well as I wanted to. So I think there's a lot of layers to this, and there's a lot of soul searching going on every day. And then a lot of, as I said, questions being asked, trying to get answers, and trying to do really good evals of who we are right now and where we need to go.
Well, Coach, we always appreciate our visits. Hope your recovery's going well, and we look forward to catching up with you again next week.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There you go. Trent Dilfer, UAB head football coach, joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. And as you mentioned, Greg, it's a busy time of year for a lot of reasons. We've got, of course, rivalry weekend coming up next weekend. You got Thanksgiving. You got that holiday. Guys are going to start having to deal with finals. And then, of course, the transfer portal will open. You'll have signing day coming up after that. And then playoffs, bowl games, teams going to be going and playing in different places. The break not going to be as long as it was for some of us in our industry or players or coaches as normally they usually get. We usually get. It's just going to be very different, very busy next 3-4 weeks around college football.
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult, to be honest with you, for these guys. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you actively recruit when you don't know what you're needing to recruit. I don't know how you do that. It doesn't make any sense for me. It's extremely difficult, I think. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even know what I'm losing, and yet I'm filling voids. It's brutal. Our calendar's broken. It needs to be adjusted. And I don't know how we make it easier on these guys, or at least give them clarity. Like, I don't mind them having a hard job, but what I do mind is having a signing period that opens and closes, and then next thing you know, you have guys that are still capable of jumping in the portal. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, these rosters are going to get different quickly. Coaches are going to be on the move. That's going to get different and quickly. There was another coach that has announced, that he's going to be returning to college football. I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But also tell you about our friends at Wayne's. Listen, if you got critters in the house, whether it's squirrels in the attic, raccoons, possum in the garage, chipmunks trying to get in under the house, you need our friends at Wayne's. They now offer wildlife removal services. So they can come in, get the critters out if they do get into your home, or if you're having to deal with critters maybe getting in there and you want to keep them out, they also have wildlife prevention services at Wayne's. So not just your yard, not just mosquitoes, not just termites. Now Wayne's, GMAC, can help you with all these varmints around your house each and every day.
Yeah, we don't want varmints, that's for sure. And Wayne's will get them taken care of, in addition to all the other amazing services that they provide you around your house. Go and check them out right now by calling 866-WAYNES-1. That's 866-WAYNES-1. They'll come out and they'll take great care of you. You also can go online at callwaynes.com. That's callwaynes.com, and let Waynes continue to create your happy place.
All right, let's continue on with a little bit of Max ball on Mac and Cube. Get into some other SEC games next right here on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 800-239-9569. You want to get in, talk college football games coming up this weekend. You have questions about any, thoughts on any. You can get in now, and we'll get your thoughts and maybe questions or two. You want to talk certain games, how they're going to go down, what we think about them, what you think about them. One specifically, GMAC, that we haven't talked a lot about is the game that you're going to be on, actually, and how this one might play out, kind of what's on the line, what might be a little bit different here. 11 a.m. ABC, Ole Miss at Florida. We know what's on the line for Ole Miss, playoff berth. It feels like they're in if they continue to win. They get Florida this week, of course, Mississippi State next week. That game not on Thanksgiving this year. But this is a Florida team that has shown some different life recently. You could go back to the Texas game, and that thing got out of hand in a hurry. I think the game plan had to change because of what you had at quarterback. It just wasn't going to be your day. Did not tackle well either. That has to be different against this Ole Miss football team. They can also get the ball in space in a hurry. They have playmakers on the perimeter. You don't get them to the ground, it's going to be a problem. But we know the Ole Miss offensive line has struggled at times. I thought Caleb Banks and company, Tyreek Sapp, Jackson did a great job for that Florida defensive line. Now, they picked on specifically one LSU offensive lineman last week who was filling in at left guard, but they showed they can get into the backfield. They can be problematic. Can they be problematic enough against this Ole Miss offense to keep Florida in it, maybe even win it late, Greg?
I think their defense is really good. I think their D-line can cause a lot of problems. I would imagine that's the most disruptive I've seen Florida's D-line look all year. Obviously the numbers speak for itself, but even the things that, even if you look beyond the sacks, because a lot of the sacks ramped up there third, fourth quarter when the game was late. That's when they kind of started to lift those sack numbers just a hair. But if you get Banks, number 88 inside, playing the way he's played the last few weeks, you can do some things to feature George Gums, number 34, in some of their pass rushing things. I'm pretty optimistic about what this Florida group's going to become. Maybe not this year, but next year they're going to be a handful. They get a lot of these guys back, assuming they don't lose anybody to the portal, and assuming they don't lose anybody to the draft that you would be expecting to be around. So I don't know how you feel about it. I think this is a tougher matchup for them than LSU by a mile, but I also think that if you can win up front against Ole Miss, you got a chance.
Well, the other part, too, is the run game on the perimeter. Florida can run outside the tackle, and I think that's where Ole Miss has been most problematic, is people trying to run between the tackles on them, and that's not going to happen. I think Florida, again, a defense that does flow, has heavy flow, but Florida's actually going to give you those bootlegs. They'll give you those play actions off stretch play. And they can get that. They can get it to the perimeter. So I'm with you on that defense, though. They've had a couple guys that have been problematic this year. Cam Jackson's a load inside. Desmond Watson's actually given them some decent reps here later in the year. Jack Podman's fun to watch off the edge. George Gums is just so flexible, loose, twitchy off the edge. Just a big, long, lean, athletic edge defender. But you mentioned it. Caleb Banks, Tyreek Sapp, those are the two that have been most problematic. And then they've done a great job, too, using Shamar James in some of their pressure packages, and he just has a good knack of getting to the quarterback. Like, he finds his way around blocks, through blocks, really good pressure guy. So they're going to find ways to be able to get to the quarterback. But then here's the thing. I think Ole Miss counters with quick game, and if they can get it out, how does Florida tackle? Because it's weird. The LSU game, it felt like, all right, those corner safeties came up. They were physical. They tackled well. Texas game, guys turned – throws behind the line of scrimmage in the 60-yard gains on a regular basis. And that's just that can't happen. So that's probably where it's going to be won, is how does Florida manage the quick game out on the perimeter when they get guys in space, they get them to the ground, or they let them turn them into explosives. I think that's probably where this – and then just what kind of success can Lagway have? If he can put up pretty big numbers and find explosive plays, then I think Florida does have a chance in this game.
Yeah, I think they have a chance. There's no doubt about it. I think it's a tougher matchup, though. That's really the key. Is it's a tougher matchup. Simple as that. I look at LSU, and I think LSU, and I'm not saying they're in mail-it-in mode, but they're definitely trending in the direction of mail-it-in mode. With some of their effort there in the second half, especially along the offensive line, it was a little eye-opening, to say the least. But I don't know about you, man. Like, I think this Florida team offensively, there's something missing there. And I know a lot of people are all fired up about Lagway. Like, I think Lagway is pretty human. I think there's a lot of things that I'd like for him to do a little better. One, for instance, maybe being a little bit more methodical and not so focused on the big play. I think the receivers are solid. I think the offensive line's decent. I would like Baugh not to try to run it outside as often as he does at 230 pounds, but I think Jacoby Jackson can get more touches, number 24. I think he's a good player. Like, I like Florida's personnel a lot. I just think that the offense is a little hit or miss for me. And that would be the only thing that would be concerning in a game like this. When you have real erasers on defense, they can force a lot of negative plays. You get into some obvious passing situations because you're not efficient on first and second down, you're going to be in some trouble.
All right, so you can't pick this game. I'll pick it. I think Ole Miss still holds on. I think it's competitive. I think Florida has some success running the ball on the perimeter. I think a lack of tackling outside with the Ole Miss quick game ends up being a problem. I think Florida will try to apply too much pressure at times, which will equal one-on-ones. They'll hit a couple of those down the field. I think Ole Miss squeaks this one out. I think it's a close game, competitive game. Early kick neutralizes the swamp just a little bit, and that's enough to give Ole Miss a win. John, which direction you go with this one?
I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss covers. But if you just look back at, if you watch it with like 5 minutes left, or maybe as Ole Miss is kneeling it out, you think, oh, Ole Miss won easily. No, I think it'll be competitive and back and forth. But in the end, I think Ole Miss finds a way to eventually pull away to win by 10, 12, 13, 14 points. But it'll be a 4, 5, 6 point game throughout most of it.
All right, continuing Max Ball right here on Mac and Cube in the morning, 11:45 on the SEC Network. UMass at 2-8 is at Georgia. Greg, your thoughts?
Why does this game exist?
Noon on ESPN Plus. We have UTEP at Tennessee. Greg, your thoughts?
Another example of what are we doing?
Well, at least Georgia didn't go to UMass like another SEC team. So
3 p.m. ESPN Plus. We have 5 and 6 Wofford at South Carolina. Greg, your thoughts?
That one at least is a rivalry.
Is it?
And Stater too.
The Terriers and Gamecocks are a rivalry game. Who knew? 3 o'clock on ESPN Plus. La Tech at Arkansas. Not as bad, but it's not going to be anything for Arkansas to worry about, is it?
The Battle of the Baby Boot?
Wow. The Booties?
What?
The Battle for the Booties?
Tiny Crocs. Yeah.
There we go. La Tech's been a little up and down, but they got a weird win last time out against Western Kentucky, 12-7. So, they switched offensive coordinators a couple weeks ago. Maybe things are a little bit different. Hogs should be okay in that one. Don't think that was. Keep in mind, though, here, I will say this, and I understand kind of where you're going, and I think we all agree with you. A lot of these games, like, we don't really want them. We don't really need them. But, I mean, this is lettuce weekend. Remember that.
It's true. And we do have some good games.
And we've got A&M at Auburn. We've got Ole Miss at Florida. We got Kentucky at Texas. We've got Missouri at Mississippi State, Bama at Oklahoma, Vandy at LSU. So we have removed a lot of lettuce from this sandwich. I'm not going to say that we necessarily gone in there with extra patties or more bacon. I'm not going that far. Maybe like one extra slab of bacon, and we took a couple shreds of lettuce off there, leaves of lettuce. Is that what you call them, leaves? Couple leaves of lettuce?
Yeah, that works, yeah.
So for the guy on Twitter saying that all I do is complain, I'll say this. This is a much better lettuce weekend than we've had in years past. So can't be near as mad about it as we have been when we had the one conference game and the 7 other FCS games that we had to deal with.
And the one conference game is like Kentucky, Missouri.
Why would you hate that game? I'd usually be on that game. So, I mean, that's especially if it's in Lexington. It was like my game.
It does feel like your game, but it also doesn't necessarily move the meter after we've had Georgia-Tennessee level matchups for about 8 straight weeks. So not dogging that one, just saying like we gotta. I understand why things, and I know the whole pushback. Oh well, it's more affordable. Like I get it. I understand all those things. It's just a bad product. That's it. It's a bad product, and I don't feel like it's. If you owned a restaurant, and 1 out of every 12 burgers you sold was raw, how would your business do? Not good.
Not great. I don't think it'd
Probably
be
not good.
Not wonderful. No.
But guess what? Like, that's what we have in college football, is that 1 out of 12 of the burgers that we sell is undercooked and inedible. So I know that's the way it's always been. I know that it's, it's fine, but it's a bad product and it needs to go away. I don't know when it will, but it will at some point. It's just a matter of time.
There were 7 last year. This year there's
inedible burgers.
Yes. Well, during this week.
Right.
This year there's 4, and even if you want to count, although we kind of are, UMass and La Tech as being they're at least FBS opponents. So really there's only 2. So we've seen a market improvement of this week. Granted, they still litter the schedule, but this week when you have your lettuce wrap, because it's chock full of it, you only got a couple of pieces this week.
Lettuce bun. La Tech, Arkansas, I'd say like a single no cheese.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's solid.
You don't
that's
really,
a fine.
You don't want
that's
that,
fine.
but you would eat it if you had to.
Same with UTEP.
Yeah.
Like, okay, hey, that's okay.
No. No.
That one doesn't bother me.
UTEP at Tennessee doesn't bother you?
No, UTEP at Tennessee makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, that's
La Tech at Arkansas doesn't bother me as bad.
Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying about FBS, John, but UMass at Georgia, that's
correct.
a
Right. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
that's a lettuce wrap.
Yeah.
UTEP Tennessee lettuce wrap.
Wofford, despite the rivalry.
Wofford, South
it's still
Carolina is just. It's like lettuce with ketchup.
like lettuce with mayonnaise.
Maybe that. Yes, absolutely.
I
But yeah, you go Vanderbilt, LSU, edible. Alabama, Oklahoma, it's actually beefed up a little bit. Missouri, Mississippi State, edible. La Tech, Arkansas, it's edible. Wofford, South Carolina, no. Kentucky, Texas, that's maybe just some extra cheese. Ole Miss, Florida, that's like a triple cheese with bacon.
Well, let me just, if I may for a moment, just for a half second here, allow me to wax poetic. I agree with all the assessments of the menu items that you've been pushing forth, and man, am I hungry now after thinking about some of that visual, the mayonnaise sandwich with lettuce. This is the game that Jordan Travis for Florida State got hurt in last year. Like, these are like I'd rather not play these games than play them against teams that are of lower level competition. Guys are on the ground. Guys are taking cheap shots. I think the shot on Jordan Travis is just dirty. Like I personally believe that. Like I'm looking. Granted, yeah, quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not a little soft for sure, but these games just don't. They have no business being played. Like they just have no business being played, and your season can be derailed in a game like. I mean, Carson Beck. If all of a sudden, some UMass guy wants to be a hero and decide to, hey, I'm gonna live my moment. This is gonna be. I'm going to derail their season because they didn't recruit me, and now I'm going to go take an unnecessary dirty hit. Like that, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it could happen. And I just don't like these games.
All right. There are portions of that are understandable. And I'm glad you brought up guys not playing in games because it's something that we need to spend a little bit of time on. First, I'll let you know that Big Sexy at CBashJimmy1 tweets in at Mac and Cube. You guys need a segment called Cole's Crying Corner. Never heard a grown man complain so much.
Obviously, you have to step on a college campus.
Just because I would prefer not having CGI numbers on the game, I actually said they had their place.
Yeah.
But, okay.
He just needs to watch cable news. A couple shows in particular. He'll find some good complaining. He thinks Cole complains a lot? Go watch cable news. He'll be in great shape.
Casey Ray tweets in, at Greg McElroy needs a vacation. He's been grumpy all week. Are we turning into Sonny and Wimp?
No, I've been in a great mood all week. I just haven't had a voice, so maybe I've sounded grumpy. This is the first day where I actually feel like I'm getting close to 100%. So if anything, quite the opposite in my eyes today.
Who Dat for Life Chris Fields tweets in, what tells people that Bama should breeze past OU? When this Bama team's back is literally up against the wall. This game has all the makings of a sleep on your opponent trap game.
No, who said anything about sleeping on this game? I think it's a dicey game.
Wouldn't
to be
back
honest
against
with
the
you.
wall like make you fight out a little bit harder?
You would think. A corner wounded animal, yeah.
One
I think
thing
this is a
would lead me
dangerous
to
game.
that
If
would
they
be the
don't
fact
play
that
well-
Oklahoma's 5-5 and 1-5 in the league. You say whatever you want about good defense and good players and all the other stuff. The reality is they're not winning lots of games.
No.
So,
But they are also capable if you catch them on the wrong day. Like, I just think this needs to be a game where Bama goes out and takes care of their business. This is not one where I would be sitting there saying, all right, just show up and do your thing, boys. Like, no, we need to play well today, guys. Like, that would be the approach that I would try to take for sure.
yeah. Okay. Positive Cole rest of the day. Here we go. 'Cause we hadn't dealt with enough of it for the rest of this week. So forgive me for complaining in this damn kidney stone that won't come out. So my bad. Emergency room at 3:30 on Tuesday morning.
You're not even complaining.
I'm sorry.
I still don't even understand
No.
why you're. Are
Big
you
Sexy
even complaining?
Seabass says I complain too much. So I'm going to complain no more today. I'm going to be super positive the rest of the day. And let you hear about someone who goes a little bit further with Greg's theory on maybe people not playing. We'll discuss that next on Mac and Cube in the morning. That's what I say. It is a beautiful day, Friday, November 22nd, 8:36 a.m. So glad to have you all with us. Hope you have a wonderful start to your Friday, getting you set for the weekend, of which I'm sure all the games are going to be great and all the contestants are going to have a good time in said games. 8:36 Friday, November 22nd right here on Jocks 94.5. Something interesting happened as Greg McElroy did a wonderful job, even fighting through a rough deal with his vocal cords on Tuesday night on the college football playoff selection show. And so proud of those selection committee members for doing a great job each and every week for getting those teams out, because we know that's just a difficult task. We need to give them credit for what they've done. We never complained about how those rankings come out and how they look, because we just want to stay positive with those rankings and what a difficult task it is for those guys to put forth each and every week. You're going to have to wait to hear us talk about maybe why players should or should not play. But one thing you never have to wait for, Greg, that's your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day. They have a new location to make it easy on you for our friends over in Trustful. They are now accepting patients of all ages and insurance plans out in Trustful, and they offer a routine cleaning with free teeth whitening. They can also see you on Fridays and Saturdays. So go and see the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day in Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, and Alabaster, and Trustful. It's Family Care Dental, 874-9605. That's 874-9605.
Man, think about those guys seeing you on Friday and Saturday. How nice of those folks. And just beautiful work of the Family Care Dental folks being able to do that. Greg, this actually happened. You brought up why do players play in some of these games in lettuce weekend. But this was brought to your attention Tuesday night during the college football playoff selection show.
They can't go any higher.
They are behind a one-loss team.
They have a chance to go on the road and prove what they are. Now, honestly, if we believe in what our metrics are saying, if I'm Indiana, I don't know if I'm playing Rourke against Ohio State. We've seen what happened to Florida State last year, Jordan Travis. What could keep Indiana out of this? Getting their quarterback hurt. We've seen it happen to Florida State last year, having not played anybody.
Or losing by 30.
If you look at 3, 4, and 5, Texas, Penn State, and Indiana, they literally have played nobody between all three teams. The toughest team in that is Vandy. So a lot of this that we're looking at is eye test.
Well, and one thing you have to do is trust the eye test of those committee members, because we know they definitely pay attention. So let's give them credit for doing a good job there. Joey Galloway, Greg, would go on to say that he doesn't think that Indiana's starting quarterback should participate in this game. And I honestly thought you were going to pass out when he tried to pull this off and tried to tell you that he thought this was a real thing. I didn't think he was serious at first. What was
Unfortunately, yes. Serious.
What was going through your mind when Joey Galloway, in a completely serious manner, tried to tell you that Curtis Rourke should not take place in the game against Ohio State this weekend?
Okay, in an effort, just quickly though, like, if I may play devil's advocate against myself, I understand a little bit why he's saying what he's saying. I really do understand that, because his whole logic is it doesn't matter if ultimately the goal is to win a national championship. Like, you don't have to win this game. You can punt on this game. That's basically what he's saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think they might still make the playoff if they lose, but I don't think it's a guarantee. Here's why it's stupid, though. Because you ultimately, if you decide not to play Curtis Rourke, you are already conceding defeat. You are telling your team you can't beat them. You are telling your team that is a mountain that is just too tall to climb up and beat and to beat Ohio State. So what I would say to Joey, or to anyone that suggests guys sit out games, why do we play? Like, we play because we want to win, and risk is part of it. And guess what? Driving a car is risky, and, living is risky, and walking outside my hotel room today might be risky, and staying up past midnight is risky. Like, all these things are risky. Why don't we just live in bubble wrap in our house? Like it's absolutely asinine to me to suggest that guys don't play for fear of injury. It's one thing if you're already as high as you can go in the NFL. Like, it's very clear you're in the playoff. We've already secured a first round bye. We don't need to put our quarterback at risk, because if our quarterback gets hurt, we're dead. We've already seen Indiana win games this year with their backup quarterback. So what does it tell your team if you sit a guy down and decide, yep, you know what, he's not going to go? It kills your culture for the long term. Like, okay, great. You have a short term, you make the playoff, great. Your culture's dead forever, and it will never come back if you did something like that. And that is something that I think is totally missed by Joey in this situation.
By the way, first and foremost, Greg, great points by you, and an excellent job in you battling back there.
Good job.
The other part of what you said, staying up past midnight is dangerous. What are you, a gremlin?
Well, I mean, I don't want to stay up past midnight, but nothing good happens after midnight. I've been told. And I tell my kids that. And I don't think it's wrong. Because everything that's bad seemingly happens after midnight. Not entirely true, but...
I guess technically you would be Gizmo if staying
Correct,
up after
right,
midnight
yeah,
was dangerous. Then you would turn into the gremlin. So forgive me for my mistake there. Terrible radio by me, but that's okay. We're going to move on today. We're going to do a great job because we're trying hard.
There we
go. I mean, listen, the whole thing's ridiculous to say that you don't want your... What are you saving them for? 1-10 Purdue coming up next? Is that what's that going to do you? And then somehow you lose that game to Ohio State, find your way into the Big Ten championship game. Let's just say somehow against Oregon. Do you play him in that game?
No, can't. Too dangerous.
Are you saving him for? Well, what if you feel good about your first round playoff matchup? Do you save him then and then play him the next week? I mean, like,
can't play him there.
When do you put him back on the field? Like, how big of a how little of an underdog do you have to be to say, okay, now's the time that you can go play again? I like the kid would ever agree to that anyway. I mean, if my coach told me that, like, hey, we're not doing that, I would literally hit the portal right then. If you're not going to let me start and save our undefeated season against the best team we've played all year, like, I'll just go somewhere else. There's no need for me to be here. So
no, this ain't for me.
I mean,
by the way, I didn't realize that risk of injury went up with the level of competition. If anything, I might think it's the other way around. Like, playing against bad players because they can't keep their feet or they're falling into you, like, those are the ones that get you hurt, not the good players that are at Ohio State. Like, have you noticed that? Like, that to me was also outrageous. It's like, so you think he's more likely to get hurt against Ohio State than he is against UCLA? Like, what are we doing?
It's just ridiculous, all of it. But it's okay because Joey, he tried hard and he did his best to bring a good performance in that Tuesday night show. So we're going to give him credit for that and say that he should come back with some new points next week. And we'll be looking forward to those. All right.
I do love Joey, by the way. Like, this is not...
No, he's great.
I think Joey does a great job. That was one of the first times where he's genuinely caught me by surprise by saying something ridiculous.
He'll give you something.
And there's
every
been
now
lots
and then.
of times. There's been some times when I've caught myself by surprise for saying something ridiculous. Like, I mean, this is not like, oh, I'm smart, everyone else is not. Cole, I'm sure you've said things on the air. It's like, why did I say that? Like, I've definitely done that
mainly
a million times.
Mainly just when I complain 4 or 5 times a day.
Hey, Cole, since you're in a
it's
positive mood,
just I don't know, man.
how great is slide protection?
I just don't. I don't
listen,
get it. I just don't get it.
Listen, slide protection, John, has its place, and some people need to be relying on it, and some people, you view that as what's best for their team and their individual players. So if that's the case and they'd like to go with that, then you know what? That's on them. That's fine. Me personally, I think it's a little bit risky, but hey, to each their own. Everybody has their own plan for their own reasons, and I give teams credit for even putting a protection in.
How do you feel about defensive players making business decisions?
Listen, business is business, and some people stand on it, actually. And so I give people credit for standing on business at certain points in time. Some people stand on business and shake hands and walk away from folks when they tell you they stand on business.
But running away.
Hey, listen, it's all about what you need for your bank account. And so if certain business decisions are better for you and not your team, and you choose to make that decision, that's a you problem, as we like to say. But you know what? Good for them, and it's a choice that they make, and I'm gonna applaud them for having the gusto to make their own choice on their terms. Good for you.
Speaking of business decisions, what about charging for salsa? at a Mexican restaurant.
I personally don't think it should ever be done, but that would actually be a business decision for them. If they are looking forward to going out of business, then that'd be a great move, is to charge people for extra salsa and extra chips at your Mexican/Tex-Mex establishment. If there's one thing that you don't want anymore is to have to worry about business, as in being in it or even being open, you should charge for extra chips and salsa. But I'm not going to demean someone for that, because that's the decision that they make. So it's their business. They can run it the way that they want to. I might not be a part of it anymore, but I'm not complaining about that. That's okay, because I got 15 other places that I can go, and I'd like to help them stay in business by not charging me for extra chips and extra salsa. But I also appreciate your ruse today, John and Damian, for attempting to take me out of this realm of positivity that I have stepped in, because Big Sexy Voodoo Daddy, whatever the hell his name was on Twitter, tells me I complain too much.
I did like that.
I'm not going to do it
Can I be honest
anymore.
for a moment? Can I be honest for a moment? Hey, you guys, Damian and Saber.
Yes, sir.
Is it just me, or since Cole read that text message or tweet or whatever it was, has Cole gotten soft? I think he's gotten soft. I think there's a fine balance between being positive and being soft. And I think if you are positive all the time, you're soft.
Yep.
And I think Cole is venturing down that rabbit hole. I like negative Cole.
Well, I have been getting soft for quite some time. And when these back ailments that hit me about 3.5, 4 weeks ago, and I haven't touched a weight since, the softness has multiplied greatly in the last almost month. So
I think you
what?
should risk paralysis in an effort to maintain your manly physique.
More front
I don't know
squats?
what's wrong with you. Yeah, we've gotten super soft. If you're not willing to still put weight on the bar and put the bar on your back in light of a back injury, you really are soft.
We just did this whole thing about Rourke, and you're not going to lift weights?
more overhead squats.
Yeah.
Yeah, haven't you seen the movie The Wrestler?
I'm making a
Like,
business
he put
decision
it all
in
on
the
the
weight room
line.
right now.
Yeah.
It's my business.
You
not
might
to
die in
anyone.
the ring, but it's worth it. Like, that's your problem. Like, you right now are choosing to feel good over being a stone cold killer.
Yeah,
And that's your
I'm-
choice.
Not only am I feeling good, but I'm talking good about other people, and I don't know why it's bothering you guys. Like,
Because I don't
Walter-
know this Cole.
Walter tweets into the show, got on late. Sorry, what gave Cole the red arse?
Here's what I think is funny. Cole has gone
Now
in-
I'm being the most positive I've ever been and being accused of being mean. I don't
Well, in
understand.
fairness, it is a little bit of a double entendre. Like, this is like one of the more interesting dilemmas maybe in Mac and Cube history. In an effort to be positive, Cole is showing his red A. Like, that is hilarious. Like, Cole is being red A by being positive today. That is a weird twist of fate, is it not?
All right, so Travis RTF tweets in, why was Cole at the emergency room at 3:30 a.m.? I feel like that is alluding to something negative. I had a kidney stone issue on Tuesday morning. I thought I was dead. I've never felt a pain like that in my life. Actually, I have, other than gout, which I'll go ahead and admit on air that I also have, which is almost as bad, also puts me down. I thought my loins were going to fall out. I thought my intestines were gone and were literally just quitting on me. So yeah, I was at the emergency room at 3:30 Tuesday morning.
Not
So-
a complaint, just stating facts.
not complaining. That's just that's what it was. I was actually apologizing for myself for maybe that alluding to some of the negativity that had come up on the air this week. But you know what? I should look in the bright side in that some of the other back pain I was dealing with is now gone, which I think may have been caused by that. So there's the silver lining that we're looking at moving forward. Also, got to meet a nice nurse at the hospital who does not watch Read and React, which happened to be on while I was sitting in the emergency room bed getting morphine. Does not watch the show, but said her husband does, which was
There we go.
a pleasant surprise to see. I was like, hey, the guys at the building are not the only ones that watch the show on Monday nights. That's good. I was like, does he also listen to Mac and Cube? And she was like, I think so. And I was like, boom, there we go.
Close enough.
If we can get you on board too, it'd be one more listener there. So
There we go.
A lot of positives
Almost
came
a
out
double
of that.
dig, baby.
Yeah, a lot of positives came out of that. So there. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:54 a.m., Friday, November 22nd. We do have a call from Charlie on the Buyers Right hotline. Charlie, good morning to you.
Hey, fellas, good morning. How y'all doing?
I'm absolutely fantastic.
Super. Thanks for
Charlie.
asking.
Hey, that is awesome. Let me tell you, you guys are 100% great radio when a comment gets under your skin. It is fantastic, and it needs to happen more often, and I'm here for it.
Well, if you could just find more dumb people to tweet into the show, Charlie. we could probably let that happen.
And, hey, while I get you, I won't take up your time. But while I got you on the phone, I work from home, so I have the availability to watch a little bit of film. On that toss read play everybody's running now, what's the read?
I think it depends. It's different for different people. I think sometimes it's not actually a read. Sometimes it's kind of a setup. And you want to see, like, I think for Georgia, it was you make it look like a toss read, but you go ahead and toss it early. Then you get down in there on what I think they were on, like the 7 or the 8. You know how the secondary is going to flow with it, so you probably just know you're going to throw it. I think from an Ole Miss perspective, 1, you can read the defensive end, and then the quarterback can keep it and run it. Or 2, Greg, I would imagine you read like the nickel and just how he's playing, and then you can hit whatever you want, like your post or seam route if he's coming down a little bit too fast.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he's talking like jet sweep read, or is he talking
like the shotgun and
the toss sweep?
Yeah, they run that toss sweep, and they'll either hold it or they'll go ahead and toss it. I think you could probably read the nickel coming down, and you could hit something out of the slot there. Or, like, I know Ole Miss will read the end, and if he's playing out wide, Dart will fake the toss, and then he can run north and south with it.
Yeah, basically they'll leave that end unblocked, so you have the option to make it a speed option. You also can look at the safety through the defensive end, so you can hit a slant off of it or a vertical off of it, depending on what your read is that week. Or if you have one on one of the outside, you can throw a back shoulder.
Yeah, a lot of different ways it can work. Great question, Charlie. And by the way, congrats to being able to grind on tape while you're working from home. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. So glad you're all with us. We got a little bit more football to talk about in our next segment. Some of you texting in, we'll get to those after we get to Rhett Lewis, because I think this conversation is going to be interesting for multiple reasons. Rhett Lewis obviously knows the Indiana football program well. He's a color analyst for Indiana football. You can see him on the NFL Network, see him a lot of other places. Now doing some work with the Big Ten Network as well. But, of course, Rhett, one of the best at talking football on any platform. We'll get to him in just a moment, G-Mac, but one place that can also make you feel good and be positive is Bromberg's.
Yeah, it's a great place, and right now is the go-to. It's the time to get in the store. They have a bunch of really fun events coming up here in the next couple weeks. Bromberg's is famous for that silver box that you get around Christmas time. Go and get some silver box opportunities under your tree by going to Bromberg's here in the next couple weeks. Get set up with the salesperson. They're going to ease you through the process. You can put a wish list together too. So if you have some things that you're looking for, some things that you're eyeing, go in there and maybe put a wish list together, and maybe your loved one will surprise you with something from that wish list. So go and check them out in one of their 2 locations in Mountain Brook Village and the Summit. You can always shop online at brombergs.com.
All right, let's go to the Buyers Right hotline now. Welcome in Rhett Lewis, Indiana football color analyst. You can hear him on SiriusXM's NFL channel, hear him with the Big Ten Network. Rhett, great to have you on. And this might be an easier answer, and I don't think we fully understand the history here. I mean, we could go back to Von Dunbar or a couple of other teams. We had a conversation earlier this year concerning Tennessee going to Oklahoma. And it was brought to our attention that this might be the biggest regular season game in Sooner history. And we're like, well, hold on. Like there's a lot of other games. But then when you broke it down, it kind of made sense. This one maybe feels easier to us that don't know the history as much of Indiana football. Where does this rank as far as regular season games in IU history?
Yeah, Cole, great question. Cole, great to be with you guys. Really appreciate it. Hey, what I would tell you is it's the biggest game of my lifetime. I'm 41 years old and followed Indiana, all my life. Now, I can't necessarily say that it's the biggest regular season game of my family's lifetime. My dad is also a Hoosier grad. He was a student trainer on the Indiana's lone Rose Bowl team, in which they lost to an O.J. Simpson-led USC squad. But so there was probably some games along that route that kind of spoke to this kind of magnitude. But, hey, recent history, and look, I don't think you're going to find any problem with anybody right now that follows Indiana football and saying that this is the biggest game in program history.
It's a massive one, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
It's rare when I'm on a call opposite a game and I've already told them, hey, bottom right quad box, I need Indiana Ohio State. So I'm very excited about it. And I promise you, if you're an Ole Miss or a Florida fan, I will be paying attention to your game, but I will in the breaks peek over at what's going on with the Buckeyes and the Hoosiers. What's so different about this team? I'm having a hard time, Rhett. I got to be honest, and it's not a knock on Cignetti. It's not his fault. The teams they've played just aren't good. But I look at how they operate and just the efficiency that they operate with, and I'm super optimistic. So how do you differentiate the level of operation and execution from the level of competition?
Yeah, I think that's fair. But, I think what also people also, lose sight of is, when you go back to the games that they've played against these teams that, quote unquote, aren't any good, they were most were either with a winning record or at 500 at the time. We are talking about 2 programs, and I get it. There was a lot of departures from Michigan and Washington, which they played both of the national title teams from a year ago, and dominated. Michigan in the first half obviously became a close game, dominated Washington from the start. Like they have dominated the competition that has been put before them. So I look at that, right? I look at the way that their every play, every rep, every drive, focus and refocus under Cignetti. That has been really impressive, and it's always been a pedal to the floor type of scenario with this team. They are the thermometer, not the thermostat. They don't just sit back and try to read the game and see how it's going to play out. They are playing the game on their terms, which I really appreciate. They attack both offensively and defensively. I think they have some of the best coordinators in the conference, and some of the best. I mean, like, I think that's one reason why Kurt Cignetti has been so successful is he hired a phenomenal coaching staff. They are super sharp at the top levels of that staff, and I think they're great game plan guys, and they put their guys in position to succeed. And so, Greg, when we talk about, like, yeah, Ohio State, you could probably go position by position and find more talented players. But are we downplaying what it means to be a great team in college football? What it means to play as one, right, on both units? It may sound kind of cheesy, but I think sometimes we lose sight of that, and that's where I think Indiana wins right now. Is they are a great team. And I'm excited that we actually get to play this game, right? I mean, I feel like the rest of the country has been, putting me into a state of mourning. Like, the game's already been won by Ohio State on paper and by star rating. So I'm really excited that Indiana actually gets to play this thing.
I think there are portions of this team that people will be introduced to that they may be a little bit surprised by. Rourke's obviously gotten a lot of pub, but the skill can go. Greg and I have talked about it multiple times. I love this team's skill. I think the offensive line, albeit not super talented, they get after you. They play well together. They have a good understanding of staying on combo blocks, helping one another in pass protection. However, that group against definitely the most talented defensive line that they've seen this year, who also, by the way, has been up and down this year, what's their best way to offset that group specifically in this matchup?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's one of my favorite matchups of this game, Cole. Because if you go back to the Michigan game, I actually thought, Indiana down to their fourth guard of the year going into that game with Tyler Stevens, who was their, kind of third starter on the left side, actually held up pretty well for the most part against Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant inside. Now, second half, things got a little hairy, and the thing that really started to bother IU was not necessarily the pressure from the interior, but it was the speed off the edge from Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore. And I think those guys really started to give the offensive line as a group some real trouble. So that's where I don't think that Ohio State stacks up with Michigan on that front. Like, I think Michigan still has a better front across the board than Ohio State does defensively. And while Tuimoloau and Sawyer are really stout and tough dudes, I don't think they bring the speed off the edge that gave Indiana some troubles in that game. So I actually feel like they're going to be able to kind of hold up in this one. And the other area where I think you'll see a few little tweaks in lineup and in rep share is getting more speed into the skill spots on the perimeter. They've got some big body guys, but I would imagine you're going to see a little bit more from Keyshawn Williams, who was really good against Michigan, and a little bit more from Omar Cooper, who brings some speed out on the edge.
What about the wide receivers against Ohio State's defensive backs? I think that, the O-line and the speed, I completely agree. I went back and watched the Michigan game. There were some very concerning moments, but I agree with you with Ohio State. I think they want to be twitch guys, but they're not.
They're not,
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think I could run, Olympic track, but I'm out there and I'd get lapped by most middle schoolers at this point. But I look at these receivers, and I think they're going to be a huge problem for Ohio State. I think Surratt is excellent. Great job judging the ball in the air. I think Cooper's good, too. I think they have an aggressive approach that should be helpful, given how Oregon attacked Ohio State. So how much of Oregon's plan by pushing it down the field is applicable for Indiana? Can they win those matchups like Oregon did?
I would look also, Greg, to what Northwestern did in targeting Denzel Burke. I think right now that Denzel Burke is a shell of who he was a year ago. And I think he's the liability in this secondary for Ohio State. Now, he's still a good player, but I think when you start breaking it down, like that's a matchup I would look for Indiana to exploit. Whereas Davison Igbinosun on the other side, I think has risen to become the best cover corner in that group. Although he can get a little handsy from time to time, so I'd watch out for the flags flying in that respect. But like we were talking about Denzel Burke a year ago in draft prep as like a pick 25 to 40 type of guy. I don't think he's proven to be that kind of player this year. So I would look for that matchup. I would look for the slot guys, Miles Price and Keyshawn Williams, who are really the best like separation guys. Like they're the dudes who can generate, some space at the top, like with a break, whether it's a whip, whether it's a choice route in the slot, whether it's just kind of flying across the formation and utilizing their speed. If they get some one-on-one, some man type looks where they can find some opportunities to generate separation. And then that's where Omar Cooper comes in too. Because Omar is a bigger body at 6'1" and over 200, but he can go now. So like I'm with you, man. I think the Indiana speed at the skill spot is going to be a major factor in this one.
Brett Lewis joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. He does color for Indiana football. You can see him, hear him on SiriusXM, NFL Network, Big Ten Network. When we flip to the other side of the line of scrimmage, now Seth McLaughlin out for Ohio State, massive loss. Greg and I both agree he's been playing great football this season. So that's now multiple moves they've had to make on the offensive line throughout the course of the year. Is it Carpenter? Is it West? Like, how does Indiana take advantage of that? And how much of a problem can they make that for the Buckeyes in this game?
Yeah, I think it's a huge piece of the entire game. Like, I think Mikhail Kamara, CJ West, and James Carpenter need to have the game of their lives, because I do think that's the one liability for Indiana on defense is it's just about any team trying to deal with Smith, Ibuka, and Carnell Tate, right? It's the secondary is going to have some trouble if Will Howard has clean pockets to go out and find those guys. So I think Kamara, I think West, Carpenter, maybe Linnell Carr, edge on the side, and some of the rotational guys that come in there have to provide some havoc. And I think the way to do that, obviously, is on the interior with some of the injuries there. So yeah, West and Carpenter, I think are kind of the biggest one. And look, I do not underestimate the game plan factor of this thing. Brian Haynes, the defensive coordinator, has had an outstanding plan for every opponent, and they have been able to generate that havoc consistently. And you go back into Signetti's history, back into Haynes' history, they stop the run, they get after the pass. You do that in this game, you're going to win. If you limit the big play potential from the talented skill guys on the outside at Ohio State, like there is a real pathway to victory here for Indiana.
There's no doubt there's a pathway to victory. I think that they 100% can win.
Yes.
I don't even think that it's going to require Ohio State playing poorly. I think Indiana, if they play their A+ game, they can handle it. Environment, I know it's a little underrated.
Sure.
I'm curious as someone that always played my big games at 2:30 Central or 3:30 Eastern. How has the home field been for a noon kick in a big game like this? I would think that takes the air out of it, but I'm just curious your thoughts if that does neutralize the advantage that Ohio State would have.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, because I've been to some noon kicks at Ohio State, but it's been in years where Indiana was down, and the atmosphere was still one to be reckoned with, I think. But like you go back to what the atmosphere was like in Bloomington in a noon kick that I was actually on the call for with Big Ten Network against Washington, and that game day ended up showing up there, and it was incredible. And so like absolutely incredible, and not an open seat. So when you go to the fans there at Ohio State that are preparing for this game, like I have no doubt that this atmosphere is going to be absolutely on fire in Columbus. Now, if Indiana wins, like fire is one thing I would look out for in Columbus, because they might try to burn that town down. But I do believe that they're going to be out there in full force. And look, I talked to Curtis Rourke this week, and I love his mindset, man. And like the three things, and Greg, I'm sure you can relate to this, that are kind of non-negotiables, for me when you're evaluating quarterbacks are it's accuracy, it's processing, and it's poise. And he's got those three in spades, right? He might not be the most, toolsy type of quarterback, but he's got those three things. And his poise, I think, comes to show in a major way this week. Like, he is a low blood pressure player. Whether it's, good play, bad play, pocket breaking down, clean pocket, whether they're scoring an 85-yard touchdown or whether he's getting up after a sack, he is the same dude, and that rubs off on the guys around him. And they talk about it, like they see it, they understand it. And in talking to Curtis this week, he's like, "Look, man, I'm fired up for this. Like, I am excited to embrace this atmosphere and this opportunity." So I think he's got the perfect mindset. He's got the perfect temperament for this thing. He's fired up about it, but he's not going to get overly up or down one way or another, depending on where things are going. And look, as long as he stays healthy, then Indiana's going to be in this game with a real opportunity to win it.
All right, Rhett, if we're sitting here Monday morning on this show talking about how Indiana got this win against Ohio State, what will have happened for the Hoosiers to have gotten that victory?
Yeah, I think it'll start from the beginning. It'll be a fast start, and that's where Indiana has been at their best this year. It's opening drive touchdowns. It's following that up. It's playing complementary football. You go opening drive touchdown, defense comes through, sacks Will Howard, forces a 3-and-out, offense goes down and finds a way to put more points on the board in drive 2, and all of a sudden, it's a 2-score game, in the first quarter going into the second quarter, and you're like, whoa. And I think there's a shell shock mentality there in Columbus at that point. And I think we're talking about Indiana then taking this thing and trying to put the foot on the throat at that point. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a 2-score game. I just think that that's the formula. It's start early and then keep the pedal to the floor when you get into the second half. I think Mikhail Kamara, as we were talking about, CJ West and James Carpenter will have had the best games to date of their careers in pressuring Will Howard, limiting the run game. And that's where Aiden Fisher and Jalen Walker come in on the second level. I think two of the more underrated linebackers in this league. Those two guys together have a great bond. They were with each other at James Madison. I think they play a huge role in keeping Quinshon Judkins, from knocking his head on the goalpost and turning 4-yard runs into 40-yard touchdowns. And if Sean Asbury and Amari Farrell in the back end of this secondary for Indiana keep everything in front of them, and we're not talking about Jeremiah Smith, having 2 50-yard touchdowns, Indiana wins this game. And I was just kind of messing around. Like I said that this will come down to Indiana scoring a touchdown late and Kurt Signetti going for 2 to win it at the end. And who knows how that ends up happening, but that's the formula to me. You start fast, you cause on offense, you cause havoc in the backfield on Howard on defense.
Red, great stuff, man. Thanks for taking time for us today. Always great catching up with you, and look forward to doing it again soon. Enjoy the game this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate y'all.
Rhett Lewis joining us there on the Buyers Right Hotline. Great insight to this weekend's game against Indiana and Ohio State. GMAC, we know a lot of folks don't really believe that Indiana has a way to be able to pull that upset, but Rhett just laid out multiple possibilities there as to how Monday morning we'll be sitting here talking about the Hoosiers staying undefeated and getting that win.
I think it's a lot closer than people realize. Now, people don't want to acknowledge that because they're just not used to seeing Indiana in a situation like this. And I mean this. Like, I think there is a little jealousy, from some teams that are like, why can't we be in that situation? So they discredit and disprove Indiana's possibilities of getting this thing done. But I think it's real, man. I think that's a real football team. But here's the problem. They haven't seen anything like this level of personnel. It's a roster that has largely been built on guys that have a G5 background, and they have largely played a G5 schedule up to this point. So it's not that uncommon to see a group or a handful of guys from James Madison go over to Indiana, and they were undefeated last year, James Madison, whatever their record was, and be undefeated at this point because the level of competition is comparable to that of what they played last year. I know it's Big Ten. I get that. And it's not discrediting the Big Ten. They just happen to catch the worst version of the Big Ten when you look at the schedule. So all that being said, I think Indiana's live. I think they can win the game, but they're going to have to play flawless football. Any mistake, anything from a turnover standpoint that could tilt things in their direction would be a huge issue.
All right, so we'll spend a little more time on that game, give you our picks on that game when we come back on the other side. Also, some more feedback coming in on today's positivity. I'm sure it's going to be a great message from all via Twitter, text, You can be a part of the show as well on the phones, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. Text into the show 205-834-9450. And don't forget about our friends at Game Day Men's Health. If, unlike me, you're not feeling positive and you're lacking sleep, lacking energy, feeling on edge, could be the effects of low testosterone. And a lot of guys are feeling this. This is happening with a lot of you. Don't let it catch up before the holiday season because they can help you with weight loss as well. They have multiple programs to help you get some of the extra weight off at Game Day Men's Health. Here's what you need to do. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Sign up for your free consultation. With that, you get a free PSA test and a free testosterone test. They'll know exactly where you are. They'll lay out the different programs that they have, and you can save 10% on any of those programs by mentioning Cube when you walk in the door at Game Day Men's Health. They have positive employees in-house that are going to provide a positive message for you and your future health and what they're going to be able to do for you. And all they're looking for is a positive outcome for your health moving forward. You can book your free consultation today at GameDayMen'sHealth.com and expect nothing more than a positive experience from Game Day Men's Health. Back with more Mac and Cube next. We are all happy here on Jocks 94.5. Why? Because it's Friday, because we're together, sort of, and we got football coming up tonight. Temple, UTSA, 6 p.m., ESPN2. Purdue, Michigan State, 7 p.m., Fox. UNLV, San Jose State, 9 p.m., FS1. Also, Mac Brown's going to return to North Carolina.
Let's go.
That's enough to get us excited and happy, right?
Yeah.
Texas State has a new 7-year contract extension for G.J. Kinney, $2 million per year for 7 years. So potential bonuses on top of that gets him locked up there. That's a good one. Excited to hear that. Not excited to see that UMass canceled their senior day. Hate this for these kids. You guys see the story here on this?
That's a shame.
I'm sorry, UConn, not UMass.
UConn?
Or the UConn game is their senior day. The athletic department has decided they will not be individually recognizing players or holding a traditional ceremony due to the number of players who are completing their eligibility and graduating from school. In lieu of the ceremony, the athletic department is offering your families the opportunity to be on the field for pregame warm-ups, and we'll have a photographer available to take pictures with you. If you plan to have family members attend, please text, email, Teamworks, message me, blah, blah, so on and so forth. So UMass Senior Day out.
So they're pulling a Patriots and doing it as a team instead of just the individual. This is anti-about it.
Not even as a team. You just randomly do it at different places during warm-ups.
That's strange. Can't they just move the times up? Say, hey, since we have so many seniors, we'll just say, hey, the pregame festivities will begin at, like 11:30 instead of
started earlier.
Right.
Or do it right when everybody gets into the stadium.
Yeah.
Before warm-up.
There's ways you can do this.
Dominic Mazzotti.
And again, it's a sign of the times. It's a little bit of a sign of the times. I'm not trying to be, negative Nancy here, but it's not that surprising.
Negative today. We're all positive.
Well, no, I'm just saying, it's a sign of the times. All right, you want to accept money and make money playing the game. We ain't worried about your feelings anymore. That's kind of where it's gone. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
A little bit. Yeah. Dominic Mazzotti, UMass tight end, tweets yesterday, I know that I've only been here a year, so maybe I don't deserve a senior day here, but for the department to take away honoring individuals who have given their all to this great university is asinine. Guys have been here for years, and they deserve to be recognized before UConn. I'm with Damian. Find a way to do it. I think that'd be a great idea.
Not that hard.
I think you celebrate these young men that have helped your university and that put forth the effort to be there, even if it's 1, 2, 5 years. They put in the effort. They deserve to be recognized as a senior that went out there and did what they were supposed to do for that program. So I hate to see that because I know that was cool for me to be out there and my parents be on the field and be recognized before the game. I know, Damian, probably something that was special for you. You'll always remember. GMAC, same for you. And to hear these guys have to go around and walk around and find a photographer with their mom and dad or their sister or aunt or grandmother, whoever's out there with them, just, all right, skip warm-ups, take your picture now. Good. On to the next thing. Here we go. Yay, senior day.
It's tough.
What's our silver lining here? I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to be positive in the UMass perspective.
Think about you going through warm-ups. Think about you're going through, inside track and stuff. You got to turn around and take a picture.
Senior quarterback exchange. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I got to go take a picture with my family.
Right.
I'm not sitting there squatted down for 20 minutes.
What if the quarterback's family decided, hey, they wanted to, the quarterback's mom said, all right, I'm gonna come take a snap, get me in shotgun, get a picture of me, and the quarterback's dad's playing left guard.
I love
the
that,
center quarterback exchange, just go
So
family chaos.
Go to that last edition of team right before you come up.
Yeah.
Mom and dad come in as the left guard and left tackle. You're the center. Where's the photographer? Get the picture now. Now's the time. Yeah, that would be fantastic. I would love that. Damian, what do we got coming in on the text line today?
It's been pretty interesting since we've taken the positive route. Somebody texted in and says, positive Cole just hopes all the players have fun.
That's it. I just hope everybody has a good time, and I hope those families still enjoy seeing their loved ones on the field before the game when they take their random senior day photos somewhere along the field.
Somebody else texted in, and speaking of negative Nancy, I get Cole's being positive, hold on. I get that Cole is being positive, which is why, Greg, why do you have to be such a dang negative Nancy sometimes?
Like the lady said earlier when she tweeted in, Greg needs a vacation, and we all know that. It's just what it is, right? Okay.
Positively, yes.
Somebody from Florida texted and says, hey, Cole, just remember, an angry Nick Saban was always a good thing for the state of Alabama, as well as an angry Cole is good for Alabama radio. Keep poking the bear.
Was an angry Nick Saban always good, Greg?
wasn't for me, but if it was for someone else, fine.
Wait, didn't
I love how some people are allowed to be like super negative. Like Coach Saban can be as negative as you want, and no one would ever say anything. But if anyone else is ever negative, then oh my God, it's like hilarious. But such is life.
Wasn't
That's
everyone
it.
mad that DeBoer wasn't angry earlier?
Yes.
Malachi
Right,
Moore and all
yeah,
like that?
right.
Okay, yeah.
He wasn't yelling at people on the sideline.
Not
Big
yelling
problem.
enough.
Is that it?
It says, give me the original version of Cole. I'm begging you. I can't deal with Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, I don't have time for Mr. Nice Guy. He's soft.
We all have lots of time in our day to be able to make changes and adjustments. I'm sure you guys will figure it out.
Absolutely.
All right, when we
I'm still
come,
trying to figure out why we're the negative. I feel like I've been remarkably positive this year in
You are.
all possible
no,
senses.
she just said
Like,
this week. You've been grumpy this
Just
week.
this week.
Yeah, it's just this week. But
I
hey,
don't even have a
holidays are
fully
coming up.
functioning vocal box, and I do radio. So how do you think we're doing here? With the fact that we're making it, I
GG,
feel
Grumpy
good about it.
Greg.
Right.
Back here we go.
Grumpy Greg.
Here
No,
we
I
go.
feel like we've overachieved this week. Like I feel good about it. You know what I mean? Like I've only missed one show. It hasn't. Wednesday was a little bit of a struggle, but I feel like we've done pretty good this week.
I wonder if it was someone that was at the game and, tried to come up and talk, and you probably pointed at him and was like, I can't talk. And so they felt spurned.
I told everybody I could talk, but you just got to get really, really close, and it's going to have to be in a whisper.
Was it Wimp that said had his hat down, made it look
Yeah.
like he didn't want to talk to anybody?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Well, a good strategy then. He was trying to save it for
Anyone
the
that-
show. See, y'all get mad at Greg for not talking to you and giving you the cold shoulder. Really, what he's trying to do is better the show for all of us.
Grumpiness was intentional.
It
See?
is.
It's all positive, and we're all doing good things. It was not all positive yesterday for Louisiana State University. A lot of folks down on Brian Kelly, a lot of folks down on LSU. Should they be? We will discuss that on the other side, as well as getting back into some Max football right after this on McElroy and Cubelic in the Good Morning. See, why would you try to do this? We have everything heading in the right direction.
Not for you.
Everything heading in the right direction.
Not for you.
And
It was for Greg. They're saying
it's been a great day so far here on Jocks 94.5, Friday, November 22nd, 9:35 a.m. We mentioned that there is a lot of positivity floating around, specifically for Michigan, not so much for LSU, as a big decommitment hits the Bayou Bengals and Brian Kelly yesterday. But there's an interesting aspect to this. Bryce Underwood, ESPN's number one overall recruit in the class of 2025, flipped his commitment to Michigan yesterday, Greg. And a lot of people are pointing to a deal somewhere in the neighborhood of $10.5 million for 4 years. What I find most interesting about this is a lot of people are finger pointing Brian Kelly and LSU. A lot of people are making fun of Brian Kelly and LSU, saying, oh no, this is the end of the world as we know it. This is going to be tragic. Brian Kelly can't go on. We're losing on the field, off the field. Yet at the same time, everyone is celebrating this deal that Michigan was able to put together, $10.5 million for one player. I don't feel like you can necessarily do both of those. Is it Brian Kelly's fault that LSU couldn't come up with those kind of funds to be able to get this done? Should LSU come up with those kind of funds and go ahead and try to get this done? So I think if you're going to celebrate the financial aspects of what Michigan did, you can't really look at Brian Kelly and say that the majority of this is on him.
Correct. All that being said is in the immediacy, obviously there's going to be a reaction, a strong reaction in favor of a guy or against a guy that's lost 3 in a row. It has to do with the play on the field. More than anything else, I think it's low-hanging fruit. I, for one, think spending $10 million on a player is insane. Yes, guys are good players. I get it. But Curtis Rourke's winning a lot of games right now, and I think you take a good player and surround him with good talent, I think you got a better chance to be successful than going all in on one guy in particular. So that's the way I'd approach it, but not everybody believes that's the best way of moving forward. So Brian Kelly, for all we know, he might sit there and say, all right, yeah, this is the right decision. Or Underwood becomes the best player ever and people will kill him even more.
Well, and I'll just say this, based on some coaches I've spoken to during this season, there's going to be a very NFL front office approach to the money being distributed. Now, how collectives operate in the future, I think there's a pretty big unknown, and how traditional NIL versus what we have now in this fake NIL operates, we don't really know. But you're not going to be able to go spend all this money on 1, 2, 3 players in the college football world where revenue sharing begins. I mean, it's going to have to be evenly distributed across your roster, similar to the NFL. Now, some people may say, yeah, we'll go overspend on a quarterback or we'll go overspend on a wide receiver because they think that's going to make that much difference. But there is going to have to be some fiscal responsibility if this goes the way a lot of the coaches believe that it's going to go, GMAC. And I don't know if this is the way of the future or not, but maybe Michigan just trying to get ahead of the curve.
Maybe so. And also, desperate times call for desperate measures. Michigan, not good. Currently 5-5 with no offense, no quarterback play. So, you want to talk about increasing the urgency? Just look at the product on the field from the Wolverines this year.
Absolutely. All right, GMAC, good luck on the call this weekend. Good luck in your meetings. We'll catch up with you on Monday as you got to head out and roll to those. But have a great and happy weekend.
You too, pal. I'm going to listen into Bad Box Score. I can't wait to hear these all-timers.
Atta baby.
And
you don't have to lie to us.
Furnitures.
You don't have to lie to us to make us feel better, but that's okay.
Why? Positivity is basically a lie. Life is hard. See you, boys.
All right. Thanks, G-Man. All right. So on the other side, we will get to our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend. Let you know what that would be if we could only pick one game to watch it this weekend. Also, we'll get to a couple bad box scores of the day. All that next right here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning here on a beautiful Friday, November 22nd, 9:43 a.m. Before we get to our bad box scores of the day, and hate to point out the shortcomings of some in those, but we will point out the positive play of others, which is the real reason we bring that to you. I want to get to our Super Sofa game of the weekend. If you could only watch one, which one would it be and why? I do think there are some intriguing ones to choose from, and it's brought to us each and every week by our friends at TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
2 football field sizes of inventory at TD's Fine Furniture right there in Summerton. All the best deals, tons of furniture, tons of inventory. They are the best. And if you're listening to this on your radio, they'll deliver to you. All right, my TD's Super Sofa game of the weekend. If I only had one to watch, I think the obvious is going to be Ohio State and Indiana. I'm going to go with it, 11 a.m. on Fox, just because there are parts of this Indiana team I don't think people believe are near as good as they really are. I want to see how the skill holds up against Ohio State. I want to see how the offensive line holds up against Ohio State. I think the defensive line could actually find a lot more success against the Buckeyes' offensive line than people believe. Obviously, some of that due to injuries and Ohio State having to shift some of their offensive line around. But I'm going number 5 versus number 2 from the Horseshoe. Indiana at Ohio State, 11 a.m. on Fox is my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend.
I'm going to the 11 o'clock window as well, but I'm going to the game that GMAC will be on the call of, Ole Miss and Florida. Can Florida keep the momentum going against Ole Miss and the running Rebels after their win against LSU last week? And if Ole Miss is for real, can they go out there and handle their business? That game on ABC at 11 o'clock, Ole Miss versus Florida, is my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend.
As for me, I'm going to keep it in-state. Texas A&M is coming down to Auburn. Number 15, Texas A&M to take on the Auburn Tigers. 6:30 ESPN. Texas A&M currently a 2.5-point favorite. I do think Texas A&M gets the game. I'm not going to be surprised if this is a relatively close game, but my TD's Fine Furniture game of the weekend will be Texas A&M at Auburn. By the way, TD's has their Black Friday sale going on right now, including bedroom suits marked down $1,000. Top leather sectional starting at just $19.99. Almost anything in the store is marked down, plus pay no interest until 2026 at TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
You just can't beat TD's. I don't think there's any doubt about it. All right, so a lot of games coming up this weekend. I want to get a couple final picks in before we move on to our bad box scores of the day. A&M at Auburn. I don't think Auburn blocks A&M well enough to be able to get this win. I know it's at home. It's at night. That's great. That'll affect things, specifically with Marcel Reed. But I think A&M gets this win. Damian?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think A&M gets it, and I think it'll be kind of convincing.
John? You just say, do you like A&M?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Indiana, Ohio State. Anybody going with the Indiana upset here?
No.
I'm not either, but I think it's much more feasible than a lot of people believe.
I think Indiana covers, but yeah, I think Ohio State wins.
I think Ole Miss holds on. I think this game's competitive. I think this game's tough. It's tight, but I do think the quick passing game and I think the legs of Jackson Dart on some design quarterback runs are going to be the difference. Florida tackling in space, been problematic for a while. I think it's still problematic. I think both defensive lines make some plays, but ultimately I think Jackson Dart and the Ole Miss offense make more plays than DJ Lagway in the Florida offense. Ole Miss holds on in the swamp.
I agree for everything that you said.
I think ultimately they will. I do think it will be competitive. I think it'll be, probably anywhere. Florida very well may have the lead in the fourth quarter, but I think ultimately Ole Miss not only wins but covers.
BYU at Arizona State. I like the way Arizona State runs the football. I think BYU kind of limping into this game just a little bit. A couple of aspects of their team, like third down, some of the rushing game, not where it needs to be. I think Arizona State continues their hot streak and gets this win against the Cougars.
I like what Kenny Dillingham is doing down there, man. He just got a different type of juice out west. And Arizona State, yes, you really start to get into some real conversations if they knock off BYU, and I think they get it done.
John?
Arizona State pulls away in the second half, or competitive early on, but Arizona puts their foot on the throat late.
Anybody want Kentucky pulling the upset over Texas?
Pass.
Anybody want the Mississippi State Bulldogs in an upset over Missouri?
Double pass.
Missouri, another team in that spot where LSU is.
Correct.
Where you start wondering, do you care? Are you invested anymore? Just saying, it's out there.
It's a week ago that he said playoffs. I said playoffs.
He said
MIZ.
playoffs.
He told me after the game.
Show no.
Anybody want the Army in the upset?
No.
Mm-mm.
What if it was the entire Army?
Then I'll take the Army.
I would too.
Wait, are they wearing the uniforms for the Navy game in this one? Because
the Navy uniforms might be better, by the way.
Yeah.
They look really good yesterday.
Clean.
Oklahoma welcoming Alabama 6:30 p.m. on ABC. Anybody want the Sooners here?
No, just like Coach Yo said,
Do they
leave
keep
no
it
doubt.
within the 13.5?
No.
Leave no doubt.
Really?
No.
Okay. I think Oklahoma's defense can keep this thing competitive. I think it'll be a really good environment. I think it might be a little more interesting than some people believe. All right, let's get into our bad box scores of the day.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Intentional grounding, offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me.
That's the game.
Got a couple to get to here. The Kansas City
Cougars?
No.
Chiefs?
Well, we're going college basketball.
Then the Comrades.
They're the Roos.
Yeah, they are.
They took on the Calvary College.
They're the Cavaliers.
That's a difficult word to say, by the way. Calvary.
Cowboys.
They're the Warriors.
Like that. It was right there.
It's,
Like,
come on.
could have easily.
In one that we tried to warn Greg before the show.
Oh, boy.
Was an all-timer, and he said no, it wasn't. The Roos snuck by the Warriors to get to 3-2.
That's all right. Yeah.
Warriors now 0-1, 119-19 yesterday in men's basketball.
You got beat by triple dig?
Men's basketball
In public.
Your points off turnovers 36-0.
Okay.
Your second chance points 21-3.
They just didn't care.
Your bench points 47-9.
Oh, Lord.
Points in the paint 52-4.
Oh, they just couldn't stop them.
Fast break points 34-0.
Why did they even play?
Calvary shot the ball 50 times.
Okay. All right. Let's see what happened.
How
This
many
is
did they
not
make?
threes, by the way. This is field goal attempts.
Overall. Oh, okay.
They made 7.
Oh,
Out of 50
Okay.
in a full 40-minute game.
Against people.
That's disgusting.
Kansas City, the Roos shot 44 of 81 in the game.
They're just hot.
Calvary did make a free throw. They shot 2.
There we go. All right.
Kansas City's 13 of 19. Now, Calvary put up 29 threes in the game.
How many did they make?
5, actually.
That's actually more than I thought it was going to be.
That's a ruse.
They
right
shot
there.
50 times in the game and made 2 non-3-pointers in the game on 50 shots. Okay.
They got
Right
beat
there.
by 100. Like,
yeah. They
you got
Will,
beat by 100
they got Will
points.
Chamberlain.
Well, they were only out-rebounded 56-27.
Oh, my Lord.
On the offensive end, it was 23-9.
Okay, well, that's
I got to see who's on their roster. Like,
Now,
this is
Calvary
disgusting.
had 4 steals in the game.
Congratulations.
Kansas City
Showed some effort.
had 30.
okay. Not a lot of effort, but some.
They only turned it over 34 times.
That's
That's
actually
it.
pretty low compared, like, to
More-
get beat by 100.
Was that more turnovers and points?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, almost double the turnover for points.
Lord.
All-timer?
It's, yes. No, that's just disgusting.
Yeah, very rarely have we had triple dig, excuse me.
Here are your 3-point shooting nights for Calvary players last night. 0 for 2, 1 for 3, 1 for 5, 0 for 5, 0 for 1, 1 for 2, 1 for 2, 0 for 5, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 1.
How about they just shut the whole program down?
No. Damien, we can't do that. These are opportunities for these young men to better themselves.
Well, they're not doing a good
and
job of
and
bettering.
compete. This is a one-off, though. This is only one game. We bring this up to show you the room for improvement that they have.
Oh, Lord.
So hopefully we won't hear from them again.
They'll be making another appearance.
Cameron Foss for Kansas City, 5 of 6 from the 3-point line. Jason Petty, 3 for 3. Kasheem Grady, 2 for 2. Now, Ring Neary went 3 for 8. So he's got to get his act together just a little bit. But
Get in the
either
ring.
way, that was a bad box score of the day. Okay. There's a portion of this I don't really understand. Going junior college basketball.
Okay.
On the women's side, the City colleges of Chicago apparently have, this is kind of like the SUNY network of colleges that we have.
All right.
The Wilbur Wright College, and these are all under the City Colleges of Chicago umbrella.
Okay.
The Wilbur Wright College.
Jets.
Warriors.
Great guess. Rams. Don't ask me. Have no idea.
I feel like it's there.
I just read the box scores.
Okay.
We're just knocked off by the Malcolm X College.
Crusaders.
No.
Liberators?
Panthers.
Hawks.
Oh, okay. Like so many other better options. But, okay.
There could have been.
I don't. This would take a lot of research, I think, on our parts to figure this out. But I just read box scores here. That's all I do. So please don't attack me for that one. Now this one was tight, 101-36 last night.
Oof.
Your score after one, 21-0.
Okay.
Well, second period was better or not, 29-6.
They got on the board.
6-point improvement. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, I guess.
Positive.
Wilbur Wright shot 13 of 47.
You bet he did.
Malcolm X College, 46 of 87 for the game. That's 53% on 87 shots.
Definitely
folks.
by any means necessary.
Wilbur Wright, 5 of 15 from 3, which is exactly what Malcolm X College was.
Oh, okay. All right.
Malcolm X College, by the way, they won 101-36, going 4 of 12 from the free throw line.
Wilbur Wright landed on us. Okay.
Could have been a lot worse. And by the way, Wilbur Wright out-rebounded Malcolm X College 33-32.
Well, they like to play above the rim.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh boy, Wilbur Wright turned it over 47 times.
Ugh.
We have that GIF of Denzel just slamming the table right now.
I think 47 turnovers might be the high we've ever had in this segment. We've had some
30s,
some high 30s and low 40s. I don't think we've had 47 on this ever. Never has that happened. Not one single time. Okay. So again, that's just the network of schools. I don't really know exactly how that operates.
But kind of put yourself in this coach's mind for a second. Think of just all the coaches you've had, and even close losses, you kind of feel like, we're kind of right there. What do you say to your team when you're getting beat by 100? Like, what can you say to them?
Maybe you just don't say anything at that point. You just kind of let it go.
Get out of my face.
Also in women's hoops last night, South Plains College knocked off Hill College 76-42.
That doesn't seem as bad after everything else.
Chippewa College knocked off Northeast Mississippi Community College 81-39.
That still seems
Coffeyville Community College knocked off Fort Hays Tech Northwest.
That's a mouthful.
That's real. 73-37.
Hey, reverse.
So, and in the no offense, bad box score of the day, Lurleen B. Wallace Community College was just knocked off by Coastal Alabama 54-53.
Okay, defense.
Tight game.
I like it.
Competitive matchup there.
Effort. That's all I
And
ask.
finally, Coahoma Community College just knocked past Phillips Community College 89-28.
Yeah.
We're back Monday 7-10. 3-man front is next.